Welcome, everybody, to a special episode of here at Circle of the Earth Fellowship. I was going to say that a little weird, so that's why I got tripped up. But excitingly enough, we are going to be having a debate review. For those who haven't checked out the recent debate between Austin and Jonathan, moderated by the great big bear Owen Benjamin. It was quite entertaining in different ways and frustrating in other ways, and we'll get into that as always. So before we do, let's go ahead and say hello to all those who were on the... oh, what is... Okay, let me go back. That is interesting. That it was showing that screen and not my normal main screen. Oh my Lanta. Wait, what is going on? I apologize, everyone. It is going nuts. What is going on? That is not the right one anyways. Alright, there we go. That's the right screen. And looks like we lost. Sorry, everyone. I'm having a plethora of technical difficulties. Didn't change a single thing. But all this stuff is just dumpster fire in my possession. So I appreciate everybody for being patient while we get this going. Hopefully my audio is good, and I'm gonna bring in the other guys and make sure their audio is good before we continue. We lost Nick, so hopefully he can make it back. I don't know if he said anything to anyone else, but let's go ahead and jump over to Frankie B. Welcome, brother. Good to see you.
It's a flat earth show, baby. Everybody loves a flat earth show. Can't hear you, baby.
So no shame if you haven't. Did you get a chance to check out this debate?
No, I didn't get a chance to listen to the whole thing.
Okay. Okay. Sweet. Yeah, I think
I've heard many of his debates. I pretty much.
From the Austin side, but are you talking about Jonathan? Have you heard his? Oh yeah. So yeah, okay, but I think you'll get some enjoyment out of this. Sweet. All right. Well, we also got Kyle with us here. AE Creations, Eighth Real Creations. Welcome, brother. Good to see you.
Home, brother. Good to see you guys. Yeah, it was a fun debate to watch this. I watched all but the last 20 minutes of it, and yeah, it's interesting what positions Christians will hold, even when they hold the Bible in the other hand while they're saying the things they say. So
yeah,
I can't wait to review it.
Yeah, it's a fun one for sure. And I love of course I'm Vader Bear, right? So I got that verified from Owen Benjamin. So I always joy when he's part of the ingredients of this. So
He did a good job moderating too.
Yeah. I will say, and there's just a warning to everyone: there is a little bit of weak language. So just be aware of that. That is a possibility to go into your ears if you haven't seen it. So forewarning. Okay, sweet. Let's get into it. Did you hear from Nick? Did Nick say anything, Frankie B?
He was probably tired. He dipped out.
Oh, okay.
He's been up since like 5 o'clock this morning.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, he said he was excited to talk about it, but maybe he just couldn't do it. So.
Yeah, he probably just couldn't do it.
Yeah. No worries. All right. Let's pull this up.
Oh, he's back. Oh no, that's your screen. Okay.
Okay, sweet. And then I'm gonna hide this. And then so we are gonna watch this in oops. We are gonna watch this in a little quicker speed. Where is my mouse? Oh my gosh. This is giving me issues. And I can see it, how it's like bugging out over here. Okay, let's drop this. Let's pull this back. Show members. Yeah, it is bugging out. I apologize. This is just, like, everything is just a dumpster fire. By the way, this is downloaded onto my computer. It's not. I'm not watching it on a website. So of course grabble's got to grabble. This makes no logical sense. Okay, I'm gonna try to. Okay, there it goes. It's giving me options now. Well, it is, but I can't see my mouse. Oh my god, guys, I so apologize. Okay, there we go. I think it's playback. Why is this going so slow? Alright, let's see if y'all can hear it. Let's do that first.
Me, man. This is very exciting. I wasn't aware of Pastor Shelley. I just looked him up, though. Looks kind of based. Looks pretty cool. I know Witsit gets it. He's a solid dude. And this is a fun debate. I know to be really condescending and ad hominem and all that, but I just set up some parameters in the beginning so that it's very constructive. All right, first I want both sides to agree that the other side's opinion does not make them evil or stupid or crazy or dangerous. Can we all like verbally agree that?
Agreed.
I'm not going to attack Austin personally in the show, but I do think that some flat earthers are wicked, so I don't know if that is a
yeah, well, some people who...
Sorry, guys. Spoiler alert. He does.
Like lemonade or wicked.
Sure.
This is what we need. We need a higher level of logic here. So when you say flat earthers,
I think you're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, guys. I needed to pause that. See, if y'all could. Okay. So for whatever reason, my computer is just acting like it's never done this before. I only have these very few things that are running, so I don't know why it is behaving this way. It makes no logical sense. Oh, see, it just popped up and then it just went away. Okay, I think I need to get rid of this pop out. Okay, bear with me, everyone. Okay, let's pull this up.
It's the attack of Nimrod.
Yeah, okay, let's try this again. Gosh, what is going on? What is going on, man? This is so frustrating. And then, like, no one's gonna watch, you know, which I understand, but it's like, this is nothing to do with me. I'm not doing... So why is it giving me the wrong information? See, it's already switching it before... See, and it's not even the right title. Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh, this is just insane. Okay. I think I got it figured out. Let's now share screen. And that's this. And make this big. Sweet. Get rid of this. Okay. Alright, sorry about that, everyone.
Are wicked, so like Brahms are wicked. All right, and I hear you guys talk about that flat Earth is dangerous. I'd also like everybody to agree that the food pyramid is more dangerous, or the belief in margarine. Okay, can you see that that's more dangerous? Like, believing the Earth is flat is objectively not dangerous, and it does not mean you're stupid. Can you admit that before we start?
Well, of course I think it's stupid. I mean, that's the whole point of the discussion. I mean,
no, but it doesn't mean the person. Okay, like, I agreed to do this because I think that we can have a good logical debate. But if you're just going to be like an ankle biter, like, just follow the rules, all right? Do you think that someone is stupid if they believe Earth is flat? That there is a person, or a dangerous person, or a crazy person?
Well, I couldn't be honest with the fact that if I believe the Earth is a globe and that's a fact, that someone who doesn't believe that wouldn't be stupid.
So you can't answer the question. You just can't answer.
No.
So the answer, you think everyone who is stupid and crazy that believes it? Like, we can't do a debate if that's the presumption.
Yeah, but if I think that his position has merit, then why would I have my position? I mean, the poster that we sent to
I never asked. If
literally has a quote of me saying that they're stupid. So I can't contradict myself.
You ready to try to? I'm not saying, do you think his position has merit? Do you think that everyone who believes in the flat Earth is a stupid?
I think that lots of people are intelligent, but that position is stupid.
Okay, so do you believe that everyone who believes the Earth is flat is a stupid? Yeah, it's a yes or no question. This is super easy, man. I'm not even trying to be pessimistic. I'm trying to be like...
By the way, the audio and the video kind of issues, those are actually not from me. That's actually from the recording itself. That gets better here and there, spotty, in the future. So just forewarning.
Totally unbiased. But you in the show so aggressively with your little light bulbing and like posturing like everyone's dumb. That's not how you start a debate. Like, that's dishonorable.
Well, I did agree to the debate and said that it would be kind of hostile. And again, I'm not trying to. I'm willing to have the conversation. I'm not going to just sit here and just make insults. So if that's what you're worried about,
something here. I have something here. This is called the ad hominem. Okay, Pastor Shelley.
Sure.
So you do an ad hominem where you call someone a name. I'm going to blow it in your face. It's called the ad hominem. In a long ago time, men who did debate that you're not supposed to attack the character of the other person. And I feel like I really have to like instill this in you, because I can already tell that's your main thing. If you try to do ad hominem, I will blow the ad hominem horn. I'll also do it with logic fallacies like appeal to authority, appeal to consensus, circular reasoning, red herring. You understand? So that's it. Like, if you start running your mouth like everyone's stupid but you and you're this special boy, ad hominem horn. And which it gets it, I'll say the same deal. It gets willing to admit that people that believe in the heliocentric model, it does not mean they're evil. Can we admit that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Can you admit that it does not mean they're stupid? It does not mean they're liars, and it does not mean that they can't have a God. Because I hear that with flat earthers, and I don't believe that at all. So, are you willing to verbally admit that someone can, in the heliocentric and still have a functioning connection with God, not be a liar, not be stupid? Can we all agree to that?
Yeah, of course. Some of the smartest, most based Christians in the world were out there. There's a globe.
See, you see how easy that is, Pastor Shaw? It's that simple.
I think
it's that simple.
Yeah, again, I think you're trying to straw man me here. And again, like I agreed to the show because I do think the position is stupid.
How is he straw manning you? That like him say, I don't even think he understands what a straw man fallacy
I know.
is. So he just
Do you even know what the definition of that word is?
There's no way. You're using that word, Shelley, but do you know what that word means? Yeah, pretty interesting that he brings that up. I guess at this time we might as well introduce the self-projection counter. So y'all can't see it in the chat on the panel, but those who are on the stream can see it. It's right up here in the top left corner, right under the subscribers. And if anyone ever thinks that I'm going to try to pay attention to chat, but if anyone ever thinks that they see they had a self-projection there, let me know in chat and I will add it to add it. So okay, let's pull this up and sweet. Okay, let's keep going.
And the people believing it's stupid. So like that is my position. Now that doesn't mean that those.
So your position is the people who believe it are all stupid.
At least in that category. In that category, yeah. I mean, if someone told me that they think that a man is a woman, I would say that that's stupid.
I will do this, but this is already a little ridiculous because this isn't a debate. You're just calling names, and I'm trying to set a parameter that it's also not faith-based. Can you agree that this is not a faith-based belief? Right? Like it requires proof. You can argue it. Like if someone disagrees with you, it does not make them evil. And you have to use logic and reason to attempt to back up your case, not ad hominem, not snarky little things like you just did. Okay? Will you admit to that before we start? And then we will start. But I really don't want this to be a shit show where you're just so backed into a corner that you're like, well, I mean, yeah, we're like flying with a pizza and like that's not productive, dude. And it's kind of
the opening of the show is just a joke. I thought comedians understood what humor was, but the conversation.
Oh yeah, no, I understand.
The conversation,
dude.
So now you're saying I don't understand what humor is.
Why is it?
I don't know why we can't just have the discussion. Why can we just have the discussion?
We can. I'm setting the rules, Pastor Shelley. So
y'all can hear it, I believe, but for whatever reason,
Owen Benjamin does not understand what humor is. Is that your claim?
I just didn't.
As soon as I stop streaming it. Okay, I think I need to just straight up close it out and reopen it. Give me a second, everyone. I want to see if this actually works out better. If they'll let me pull it. Let me share it again. Okay, can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is going on? Okay. This is just absolutely insane. Windows Media Player. Try VLC again.
And if you
very
sure.
This is what we need. We need a higher level of logic here. So when you say earthers are wicked, so like Brahms are wicked. All right. And I hear you guys talk about, well, I know Witzik gets it. He's a solid dude. And this is a fun something here. I have something here.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm not offended.
Call people names all the time.
All right, here we go.
I mean, if someone said that they think that
I call you a queer, you're a queer, gay, dick, gay. Like,
why can't we call each other names? I'm not afraid of that. If someone's losing,
it's not afraid. It's not afraid. It's that if your argument requires ad hominem, it's not an argument, and that's
mine does not
debate.
require it. I just was simply bringing it in so we could have a fun show.
How about this? Every 10 minutes, we'll take a minute, and we can call each other pussies and asses, and you suck and you're stupid. That way you can get your jollies off. All right? Is that good? Every 10 minutes, we will take a timeout because Pastor Shelley wants to call people names, and he thinks we're afraid of his names.
I just want to have the show.
Okay, but you got to set boundaries. Okay, but you're willing to. So you're agreeing now. You're verbally agreeing that you will not call names. You won't do appeal to. You won't do logic fallacies. You will do that.
All right, I'm gonna try to cut.
It's like I'm talking with a 3-year-old right now. Like you won't eat the ice cream in the car.
I feel like I'm having to sign a COVID contract now or something like that. Or the community guidelines for YouTube or something. I thought this was a free speech platform.
Okay, one more time, Pastor Shelley. All right, I realize.
I just don't want to agree to some vague definition of Owen Benjamin's view of a logical fallacy because couldn't you be wrong? I feel like the moderator.
Couldn't you be wrong?
We're fair on time.
Oh wait, okay, guys.
That's what
I'm just going to say that is a self-projection because later on you will see that very so much. Yeah, I think that adds one. Let me go.
Maybe I just don't know what the self-projection is because I feel like he self-projected like multiple times here in the past few minutes.
Tell me if you think he is self-projecting, stop and say, hey, this self-projection, we got to add it to the counter, and that goes for everyone. So we'll give him those freebies from now.
Yeah,
but from now on, if you hear of self-projection, let us know. All right, let's keep trucking.
I'm setting the rules because I know ad hominem is what you're up to. Ad hominem has a very, very clear definition.
I understand what an ad hominem attack is. I'm not planning on doing that.
Pastor Shelley, let me finish real quick. You just said I don't. You just said that I'm making things up as I go, okay? Ad hominem means you attack the person, not the argument. Are you willing to admit, will you say that you will not do that during this debate? And if you do, I will blow my ad hominem horn.
I'll do my best to avoid that.
So you can't do that. Like I'm just saying I'm
not going to try to do that, but
free speech doesn't mean mentally retarded. Just because you can say something doesn't mean that you can't control yourself based on a boundary that we're setting right now. This is an ancient art.
Can we just do the show?
Not until we set the guideline, or else it'll just be yelling at each other.
If you feel like I made a mistake, then just call it out. Let's just move on.
So you won't say that you won't attack his character during the debate. Like you can't agree to that because it's free speech.
That's an arbitrary definition.
Ad hominem attack the
I understand what an ad hominem attack is.
So, okay, based on that definition, will you attack Austin?
I'm not planning on doing it. No.
I'm not planning on doing it.
Okay, so you can't agree to that. So if you do that, it's because you can't control yourself. Yes?
Whatever
you say, Owen Benjamin.
Just do the show. I don't know.
Yeah, let's just do the show so I can get to my ad hominem. Oh, wait.
You want to do blood sports? I'll make money all day long.
I thought I was supposed to debate Austin.
Renaissance Festival. All right, you want to go against me with mockery? This is what I do for a living, okay? We're doing debating right now. We're not doing mockery because I would beat you badly. I've done it professionally for 25 years.
The guy that is refusing to hear anybody call a name.
Okay, at a marriage.
You're afraid of the word retarded.
Let's say we're at a wedding and I'm marrying two people.
We'll get into the debate, guys. This is comedy. Yes? This is Owen Benjamin's time.
Well, I can't agree to that. I mean,
why doesn't he just call him out for being a pastor and tell him to be a pastor-like person?
This is not a comedy show. I did not agree to do a comedy show, okay?
I'm not expecting it to be a comedy show.
I know. Okay, got it. All right, so are we settled? We're going to do this. You're not going to attack the character. You're going to... Because
I don't even know Austin to attack his character.
No. It's like everyone who believes this is a dumb person. They're crazy, right? I just watched your intro. It was retarded. Okay? So if that's your argument, that isn't an argument. That's
I didn't
literally
argue.
stupid.
That was just,
You're like
it was just
stupid.
a funny intro to the show. That's not me.
No one laughed.
Okay.
Like no one in the world laughed. Like, I know comedy, all right?
I'm sure
Your
people
entire
over the
audience
globe thought it was
sat there.
stupid.
It was stupid. Everyone thought it was stupid.
So you can
Everyone
ad hominem attack me all day long, but I can't do that. I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah, definitely. I will not ad hominem you if you agree to not ad hominem everybody else.
Let's go.
Because if not, I'm going to mock your mother.
Go for it.
Okay, well, just remember that. And when your mom gets upset, just let her know that you couldn't control
she's dead,
yourself.
so good luck upsetting her.
That's even easier to mock.
Ooh, get ready.
Dead people can't say anything back, Pastor Shelley. Dead people
Can you
are the
just
easiest
moderate
people to
the
mock in
debate,
the world.
please?
I just want
He's
you to
getting
know
so
that if I mock
uncomfortable.
your
It's
dead
so
mom,
funny.
What are you afraid? You afraid of free speech?
No,
If I mock
I'm
your
not.
dead
I want to have
mother,
the show.
she won't be right. No, I'm doing it right now.
Are you afraid
Your
that I'm going to
dead
destroy
mom will
Austin
not-
or something? Like, what's the
No,
point?
your
Why can't we
dead
just have
mom
the
will
show?
not
Can we
be-
please just have the show?
Yeah, we can have the show as long as you agree to not do ad hominem.
If you won't have
I'm
the
not
show, we'll just
messing
kick you
around.
off because there's no point in even having this conversation. Can we just
Oh,
have
we're
the
just
show?
gonna kick you off
Now
if
you
you
wanna
don't
kick me
do
off?
it.
No,
want
I want to
to,
have the
that's
show.
fine.
I want you to just moderate the discussion. Let's start with our 5-minute opening minute discussion.
Imagine if I say, let's play basketball. No one uses a knife, okay? And you're like, well, I can't guarantee I won't use a knife. Let's just play basketball. You're like, you have to agree, no ad hominem, or else we're not doing this. Because that's
He
all
can't
you're gonna
even
is
do
you're gonna
it,
be
dude. He
Basketball game,
can't
they all agree
even
not
do
to foul
it.
people, but if they do, they get it called by the ref. That's your job. Just do the show.
Okay, so if you ad hominem, I'll just call you out for it and call
Go
you gay
for
and
it.
stupid.
Let's do the show.
Okay, cool. Let's do this. All right.
Let's go.
We're going to start off with 5 minutes each. Each person has 5 minutes to go, and then the other person gets to respond to the 5 minutes. When you're at 4 minutes, I will ring a bell. That bell lets you know you have one more minute.
Look at him
okay?
shaking his head
If
like,
there
how
are
dare
logic
you?
fallacies,
How
you will
dare
get
you?
the ad hominem horn. Okay? And then after that, we can do a little bit of back and forth, and at the end, we'll have closing arguments. Sound good, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Let's go for it.
Pastor Shelley, does that sound good?
Let's do it.
Okay. Since it's home court, Pastor Shelley, I'll ask you, would you like to go first, or would you like to pass the baton to Whitsitt Gets
Let
It?
him go for it.
That's very nice of you, and I do appreciate that. And I think we're already making up a little bit. All right, so we're going to start the clock. We are. We're going to end up friends.
I love Owen
We will.
Benjamin.
You'll
He's
see.
so funny. Oh my god.
I'm going to start the clock at 5 minutes. And so Whitsitt is arguing in the affirmative that the Earth is a flat, not moving plane. Pastor Shelley is arguing against that it is a spinning ball in a vacuum. All right, so that's the parameters. All right, let's kick this thing off. Let me get my little clock. Reset and go.
All right. Yeah, so thanks for having me on. Thanks for modding, Owen.
Check out Whitsitt Gets It on YouTube. Whitsitt Gets It is amazing. Love the brother. Glad to be able to support him. I also support Owen Benjamin. I think they're really, really instrumental in our community. And so definitely show him some love. If you have never heard of him, check him out. We also have him on other special guest episodes as well as debates. So check that out. It was great. So let's keep going.
So the position is pretty simple. We were kind of all told that the Earth is a spinning ball and then it flies through space. But if you actually think about everything logically, we need to step back. And so the default position is actually that the Earth is a stationary plane. So yeah, I take the affirmative position that it is a stationary plane, and that's supported with every empirical piece of evidence that exists. So we obviously don't experience the Earth moving. In fact, we have highly precise interferometry measurements that have shown that the Earth's not moving. We obviously see the horizons horizontal. We actually use plane survey to do all civil engineering to build everything in the world as if the Earth is flat. We fly the plane as if the Earth is flat and stationary. So on the surface, pun intended, right, everything is the default being that the Earth is flat and stationary. Of course, we see everything in the sky move, etc. So there's a claim that the opposite of that is true. So actually, in terms of logic, right, that has a pretty substantial burden of proof. We've already substantiated it just with the default empirical position, but that's kind of the meta here. And one thing that happens a lot is people typically they say, well, if the Earth is flat, then how does this work? Like, oh, well, what is the moon then? And I've never been to the moon, by the way. No one has, and I don't know what it is. I don't need to know what it is to falsify this claim that the Earth is a globe, right? So falsification is independent of replacement. That's important. And hopefully we can keep that in mind going through the conversation, because if the tactic is just to say, if I can get a gotcha on the flat earther of how the whole universe works, then somehow the Earth becomes a ball again, that's an illogical way to go about it. And then I'll go through some of the evidences that we have that directly refute it. You go back into time, you get to 1887, Michelson-Morley, they did an interferometry test, and it showed that the Earth is not moving. So much so that the graveler named Einstein had to come in and change all physics and say that time slows down and the measuring rod contracted to deceive us into thinking that the Earth is stationary. And that's the modern claim of physics today. To claim the Earth is moving through space, you actually have to say time slows down to trick you into thinking so. And that's a positive claim that literally can't be verified at all. That test has been replicated hundreds of times, even in modern history. So the interferometry measurements show that the Earth's not moving. It's the most precise way to measure motion in the world. And actually, when we do detect a rotational motion with, say, ring laser gyros, it changes with altitude, which is impossible on a sphere. The actual measurement would have to stay the same at latitude, regardless of altitude. So that's a direct falsification of the claim that the Earth is moving, which is actually, again, the positive claim that needs to be substantiated anyway. As to the flat part of it, like I said, we already utilize the Earth as if it's flat. We make plane survey measurements. We literally measure the Earth to be flat. That's how we do civil engineering to build runways, railways, bridges. Our entire life is literally built upon the understanding the Earth's flat and the flat Earth measurements called plane survey measurements. What then happens is people take those flat Earth measurements, stitch them together, and claim the Earth's a globe with a presupposed R value. And so that's going to get into how we know for sure that this globe model that was brought to us by Jesuits is incorrect. We actually falsified the radius. So if the radius value is wrong, the entire model is wrong, because the globe model's day and night cycle uses that, gravity uses that, distances on the Earth use that. Everything about the model boils down to the radius value of the sphere that is proposed. The way that we have falsified that, and there are many ways, we've shown that the horizon is in fact not physical, it's apparent. And we've seen the horizon over 10 times further than it needs to be, requiring the radius value to be 250,000 miles away. Basically just saying the R word, saying refraction doesn't make it true. You have to substantiate that. We also have line of sight radio wave transmissions that go far beyond the limit of the curvature of the Earth, and microwave transmissions up to 10,000 miles, and it should get blocked at, say, a couple hundred miles. And so that's a physical test that shows that the Earth is a plane. And there are many more, right? So really, just to reiterate it, because I think I'm coming up on the 5 minutes, the simple part is that
30 seconds.
The simple part is that we have our burden of proof substantiated as the default, that the Earth's a stationary plane, that the stuff in the sky moves. And then the claim that the Earth is actually the opposite of that requires the burden of proof. And we went a step further and even tested that claim and falsified the rate R value and claim of motion. Therefore, it can't be anything other than a stationary plane.
Okay, that was almost exactly 5 minutes. Excellent open remarks. Focusing mainly on the burden of proof being on that who makes the claim. And since, your eyes, ears, whatnot, it appears that the Earth is not moving, the person who claimed it is moving has to make the claim. And then he backed that up with many things. Now it's Pastor Shelley's turn for a 5-minute opening. And I will give you the bell at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Well, I did have a opening statement prepared. I'm not going to be able to read that because apparently ad hominem is not allowed. So I will appeal to the parts of what I was going to say that don't necessarily bring up Bible verses or what this conversation's about. But specifically, proving the Earth is a sphere takes about 30 seconds. There's plenty of YouTube videos online that prove that. You can watch them. There's 1-minute videos, 2-minute videos, 10-minute videos. There's plenty of things that appeal to all the evidences and all the proofs. Number one, the stars are flipped from the northern and southern hemisphere, which makes it abundantly clear that we're on a sphere. And yeah, people are walking upside down to us. And additionally, we see the sun rise in the east, set in the west. We have thousands of photos and videos of the Earth from satellites sent over by 90 countries. There's over 90 countries that have set up satellites. It's that simple. The Earth is obviously a sphere. It's been observed. It's been tested. Everything we experience in our lives confirms a spherical Earth, as well as, a heliocentric viewpoint of our solar system specifically. And additionally, when it comes to history, the Bible, or science, they all appeal to the exact same thing. In Isaiah 40, verse 22, the Bible says it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth. And the Bible has always known about...
Thanks for the shout out there, Pastor Kelly.
Different cosmology and different things that we experience, see in our universe. And science is always catching up to the Bible specifically. For a long time,
they always
I
use that
honestly didn't
circle of
believe
the
that flat
earth
earthers
verse.
even
I hate
existed.
that.
So, it definitely is something that, for me...
What was that, Frankie?
They always use the circle of the earth verse. I hate that.
No, and I've kind of talked about that, where it's very interesting to me looking at some of the doctrines and beliefs that people have, how it's almost like they intentionally use the verses that outright contradict what they're saying as evidence for their claim. And it's interesting.
There is no verses for their claim, so they have to take verses that may be able to be distorted in a way to in a modern translation to support their claim.
Totally true, because he does distort it, and we'll see that, right?
Yep.
I was not aware of.
All right, let's keep going.
I kind of thought it was fake, and yet I have run into some people that do a claim, like in my personal life, that I know that are flat earthers. And there's been some people that have changed their mind. So I do think that it is possible for someone to change their mind on this particular issue. When it comes to their specific evidences, it seems like they have about 6 basic categories that I typically find their arguments. It seems like, number one, they typically appeal to experiments where they see things further away than expected. These are typically over large bodies of water, and they don't really consider refraction or elevation changes. Another thing that they do is they appeal to simple observations, like it looks fat and it feels flat. However, you can't always feel movement in a car or an airplane. Additionally, they appeal to the Bible, but the Bible is not compatible with their model whatsoever. Number 4, they usually appeal to the fact that government lies about things like 9/11.
Guys, the Bible,
Wow.
What a
He's a government simp, bro. He's a paid C503, whatever the hell you call it, pastor. And he's not, and he's a fraud. He's a fraud.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. It's like hearing a debate from like 2015, where all of those original arguments that most Globers now you would talk to have had to switch up many of the, the ways they try to come at their position. Of course, there's a few out there who are brand new and always come to those first things, but I feel like their approach has changed over time. But this dude's just hitting with the easy ones. It's like, go on to YouTube. There's 2-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute videos. Read the Bible. The Bible supports the globe. I read you one verse that says circle. I mean, what is this?
Yeah, it's literally preposterous, and he's doing it as if as if it's the most dumb argument you could possibly ever make, right? And we know that's not true, right? From honestly and sincerity searching these things out. And for him to just basically what he's doing right here is hand wave dismissing. And of course, he really he brings up the long distance observations, because he knows by those long distance observations that it falsifies the R value. So way later, he says, I don't think Pastor Kelly is lying. But, to be fair, to be honest, it kind of seems like he is, because he knows kind of the main points of it, and he seems like he's willing to accept any evidence that points to something he doesn't want to believe is true, or doesn't want, others to believe is true. To me, that's kind of lying. So,
yeah, you're pretty suspect, Mr. Jonathan.
Yeah.
He shouldn't call himself a pastor, because a real prophet of God would know the realm that they live in, and he's not a.
Oh, just wait, bro. You haven't heard. You haven't. Just wait. Let's keep going.
Vaccines, JFK, and sure, the government does lie a lot, but that doesn't prove that they're lying about the shape of the Earth. The fifth one that they usually bring up is discarded or debunked alternative scientific theories, such as geocentrism, the ether. We even heard earlier the appeal to the Michelson-Morley experiment. However, that was based on the fact that the Earth is moving, and it did not prove that the Earth doesn't move. It proved that simply they can't detect any ether. And so the ether was discarded shortly after. It was decided that the speed of light is a constant. And so if the speed of light is a constant,
they decided.
Disrupts.
Okay, did you hear that? They decided that it was a constant. He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
He doesn't. No, you're exactly right. He has no. When Austin's talking, that dude zones out. He doesn't even know what he's saying.
And I wonder how much of that is like him waiting to talk as opposed to listening. It kind of seems like that's what he's doing.
Yeah, well, he's a grown adult. He should be able to understand what words Austin's using and put them in a logical format in his head to make a sentence, clear in his mind, and be like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Most people can. You don't have to be that bright to understand.
Or at least look at a dictionary if you don't know what the words he's talking about. Like, he's using very specific words, and if you don't know what those words mean, read them, understand what he's saying, because then it makes way more sense.
It does, but it's just easier to go. You don't know what you're talking about.
You're just word salad. Just word salad.
Word salad.
Yep. A lot of those older scientific theories, and the ether was basically discarded as being unuseful in predicting anything. The sixth thing that typically flat earthers will do is they will appeal to the fact that there's bad science. And of course there is. When it comes to the Big Bang Theory, when it comes to evolution, these things are complete junk. They're not true. They're made up. And so they kind of appeal to that as a gateway into the idea that there's other lies, other bad science, and they suggest that somehow the heliocentric view or the spherical Earth is somehow bad science again. But when it comes to, this specific situation, I think it's really clear that this is just a distraction from what's really important. And I think that Owen kind of brought this up earlier, and the idea that this isn't the biggest issue necessarily.
Owen did not bring up that, dude. You little.
I think that that's our sole purpose on this earth, is to get saved and to give people the gospel so that they could be saved. And it seems like every time I run into a flat earther, they only want to talk about that. Like, they're just so ardent and just so vitriolic for that particular viewpoint. It just seems like their whole worldview. And so, I do think that it's certainly a distraction. I have a lot of other strong opinions about that, but I'll keep them to myself for now.
Pause it real quick, Vader.
We're good to go.
Just a question for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how'd you come to believing in the scriptures and coming to Jesus Christ? Was that through believing that the earth was a spinning ball flying through infinite vacuum of space?
Well, me personally, I literally did meld those two things together, and that got me to a point where I could do anything I wanted, because the Bible was so metaphorical that all the things that it says do or don't do, I could make statements as, oh, like, that's not for me, I don't have to do that. And when it come to the earth, I could do things where like, yeah, well, it's immovable in its position within the solar system, right? And so you can make all of these excuses, you can make all of these apologetics, definitely for the globe. And I think, honestly, the reason why it is such an important topic and why I disagree so much with the pastor here is because when, and you're going to see Austin hint at this, talk about this later, but it actually brings people to it, because like, to me, my relation grew with the Father and with the Son so much when I realized, oh, I gotta be obedient to the Father just like his Son did, and I need to endure to the end just like his Son did, and I will be granted eternal life like the Father promised, just like his Son did. And so I started taking God way more seriously and honoring him and being obedient to him way more after I realized we don't live on a spinning, that we're what, meat sack amoebas on a speck of dust in an ever expanding endless void. Yeah, no, thank you.
You
I think
totally.
Go
All
ahead,
right,
Kyle.
sorry, mate. I was just gonna say you obviously totally fell for the psyop, bro. Yeah,
Oh
good
yeah,
on
I
you.
totally did.
I think it's funny how he said that they've lied about everything else, but they're not lying about the globe. I mean, come on, man. If they're gonna lie about everything, they're gonna lie about everything. I mean,
And we already
and the globe, that whole NASA theory and the whole globe theory is a way for them to funnel money back to the banks, because they're $10 billion a day going to NASA for research for outer space.
67 billion a day, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
Or
and that's
yeah,
and
or
it's all
million.
going right back.
Million, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
And it's
I mean,
all going right
regardless.
back to the banks. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, and regardless, it's what they do to the minds of the people with the deception that's even more crucial. It's like the money's just fiat currency that can be, gone today, here today, gone tomorrow. But what is left in the minds of generations of people is what we're essentially fighting here. Years and years, lifetimes of indoctrination for hundreds of years, trying to break that
And we'll see him talk
free.
about it. Sorry for interrupting, but we'll see him talk about it up here, where like he literally, you know, t- basically sees it as a heretical thing, as a quote unquote wrong thing, and he's like this moral judgment of it. It blows my mind that he can take that stance as a man, and it really makes me
It's
think, least not judge, least not be judged in the manner you judge, you shall be judged, right? Like he condemns people pretty quick.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and that he doesn't act very Christ-like.
Yeah.
They love to use that terminology, but I don't see it. I see him acting more like a worldly atheist. In fact, I have better experiences with worldly atheists than I see the fruits of the spirit in this gentleman.
Yeah, a lot of the times. All right, let's keep chugging.
Okay, so that concluded Pastor Shelley's opening statement, and his argument rested on 2-minute, 5-minute, and 10-minute YouTube videos existing. 90 countries have said so. The government sometimes doesn't lie. And that flat earthers rely too much on experiments, how things look and feel. Some people who have changed their mind, and the speed of light is a constant. One question I would ask, because a lot of what his argument rested on was the church. Was the church always heliocentric, globe-based, even before Galileo? So was it always this? Because you said science catches up to the globe. I'm just curious, was the church always a globe model?
Just to be clear, I said the Bible. So just because people may have bad interpretations or not understand the Bible,
Okay, good.
doesn't mean that the Bible is wrong. Additionally, I think it's impossible to always know what happened throughout history. But yes, historically, Christianity, there's been plenty of Christians that have believed in a spherical earth. But there have been people that have denied that. So I think it's a mixed bag. I would not say it's all one or the other.
Well, Galileo was arrested for thinking the Earth moved in the 17th century. So that's not exactly a mixed bag. But anyway, so now we're going to kick it over to Witsit Gets It for a 3-minute rebuttal to Pastor Shelley's opening statements. Go ahead, 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So on the scriptural thing, I mean, you obviously brought up Isaiah 40:22, and that circle, a specifically different word in Hebrew than he uses just before that, which is a different word for ball. So he specifically doesn't call it ball. And I actually have seen a video of you, and I didn't look too much into it, but you said, I hear a bunch of people say Hebrew cosmology, and you said, yeah, well, the Jews are wrong about everything. Well, the Messiah was a Jew, I guess, right? And I think he would have probably said, hey, you guys got the first part of the book wrong. So it's a wild argument to me. It obviously says it's immovable and fixed. It's you have to claim that the scriptures creation description is not literal, but I can prove that the scripture is literally correct outside of it, right? And so I find that part very interesting.
Real quick, I'm gonna jump back real quick. This self-projection here, I gotta show it again.
And that flat earthers rely too much on experiments, how things look and feel.
This specific situation, I think it's really clear that this is just a distraction from that's one thing.
Things because you
here I said the Bible
catches up to the
just because
okay right here
interpretations or not understand the Bible
okay good
doesn't mean that the Bible is wrong.
So just because people have bad interpretations of the Bible doesn't make the Bible wrong. You know what? We agree there, Pastor Shelley.
Same thing about you, Mr. Jonathan.
Let's keep chugging. That was a self-projection, so add one to the self-projection counter. Ding, ding.
Additionally, I think it's impossible to always know what happened throughout history. But yes, historically, Christianity, there's been plenty of Christians that have believed in a spherical earth, but there have been people that have denied that. So I think it's a mixed bag. I would not say it's all one or the other.
Well, Galileo was arrested for thinking the Earth moved in the 17th century. So that's not exactly a mixed bag. But anyway, so now we're going to kick it over to Witsit Gets It for a 3-minute rebuttal to Pastor Shelley's opening statements. Go ahead, 3 minutes.
Hey, can I say something? Can you pause it for a second?
Absolutely.
Hey,
what's up, brother?
Did the Roman aqueducts allow for the curvage?
I don't think so. I actually...
No, I don't think so either, because they knew that the realm was flat.
Yeah, and if you can actually look into it, I think we talked about it on a previous episode. I think it may have been season 1. But they actually had these devices where they could plane survey all the way back then. And it's literally called plane surveying. They use leveling devices to understand the land so that when they're building it, right, those aqueducts, they could have it at a certain degree slope so that the water would continue to run.
Yeah, they use spirit levels. Early spirit level.
It wasn't on a curvage. It was on an angle so that the water would run down.
Yep, exactly. Yep. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, yeah. So on the scriptural thing, I mean, you obviously brought up Isaiah 40:22, and that circle, a specifically different word in Hebrew than he uses just before that, which is a different word for ball. So he specifically doesn't call it ball. And I actually have seen a video of you, and I didn't look too much into it, but you said, I hear a bunch of people say Hebrew cosmology, and you said, yeah, well, the Jews are wrong about everything. Well, the Messiah was a Jew, I guess, right? And I think he would have probably said, hey, you guys got the first part of the book wrong. So it's a wild argument to me. It obviously says it's immovable and fixed. It's you have to claim that the scriptures creation description is not literal, but I can prove that the scripture is literally correct outside of it, right? And so I find that part very interesting. Truth doesn't fear investigation, and that's what makes it so fascinating. And so we just can cover quickly the stuff you got wrong. You said that they discovered that the speed of light was constant. No, that's not correct. He assumed that it was because it had to be along with time dilation and length contraction. In fact, it's been proven not to be. There's anisotropic signal propagation accounted for even in GPS. You brought up satellites, so I guess we can get into it, but satellites in no way prove the Earth's a globe. They actually use ellipses over a plane with a change in velocity relative to the center of the coordinate system and real inertial forces of a rotating universe, which are geocentric physics in their equations. It actually is evidence for geocentrism if satellites are up above us. You said that Michelson-Morley just failed to detect the ether. That's just patently incorrect. It was the relative motion of the Earth in the ether. What they were trying to detect was literally the motion of the Earth at 30 kilometers per second through an ether. They didn't. They threw the ether out. They then said that time slowed down, that the measuring apparatus contracted to deceive them into thinking that the Earth was stationary. You say we just say that we...
And see, most people, just what normies, is that the best thing to call it? Like, globe, like people who believe in the heliocentric model, they don't understand what they actually believe. Like a lot of people, if you talk to them, they still think it's Newtonian mass attracts mass theory. Like they don't understand that has actually, for the most part, have been thrown out, and it's now special relativity. And Austin is explaining it right here, where basically they say that the time slowed down so that you couldn't perceive it, and that the measuring device shrank or expanded in order for the math to make sense with special relativity. And they don't understand that is what the mainstream theory is. And so often they're like, what do you mean mass doesn't attract mass? They don't understand that's what 120-year-old theory that has been replaced by special relativity.
Straight up mysticism.
Yeah, it's literally Kabbalah mysticism, and we see that now. There's those, interviews where they're like, no, yeah, the scientists where they're like, yeah, like we're realizing this is actually from the Kabbalah. It's like, yeah, that's why it was set up the way it is, and we know who's at the top, of Kabbalah. So, anyways, let's keep going.
See too far. Well, yeah, there's physical limits to living on a sphere, and it doesn't comport to what we see. And we've seen hundreds of miles where there should be literally 3, 4, 5 vertical miles blocking what we see. And so you're going to have to verify the claim that it's all an illusion. So I'll just reiterate the point again. You have the burden of proof to substantiate these claims. You basically just use a baseless assertion fallacy over and over, and then you kind of appeal to consensus, and then you use a bunch of stereotype fallacies and poisoning the well fallacies, and then reification fallacies and affirming the consequent fallacies. And none of that is obviously going to cut it logically. So we'll have to get more into actual evidence.
Okay, and also, I'm not trying to come across as biased. I really am just listing someone's arguments. Swear to God, I wasn't trying to be like that. So I'm going to try and be less biased. No, I literally made a list of your arguments, and I read them back. All right, anyway.
He literally did.
Witsit Gets It responding to yours. And now I'm going to give you, Mr. Pastor Anderson, 3 minutes to respond to his. And I will say this. Thank you for the lack of ad hominems. It means a lot to me. It really, truly does. And I do appreciate it, and it shows a lot of honor. Okay?
Yes, it does.
And just for the record, I don't know what the Earth
yes,
is.
Babe.
So I'm not...
To the lovely wife, yes, Austin did just indeed own him.
Like biased in that sense. I'm just a stickler when it comes to logic fallacies. Okay. Pastor Shelley, you have 3 minutes. Go.
No problem. You accidentally called me Pastor Anderson, but you clarified again secondly. Austin did not address the fact that the stars are flipped from the southern and northern hemisphere, which was my first argument. Additionally, he didn't address the fact that the sun is rising in the east and setting in the west, which is my second argument. Third argument was all the videos and photos that I brought up. He did not address my third argument. He likes to appeal to theoretical physics and act like he's smart and like he knows what he's talking about on those issues, but he's wrong. And specifically when it comes to the Michelson-Morley experiment, he's wrong again. They already know the fact that the Earth is moving around the sun. What it disproved was the ether. But I don't really care about getting into theoretical physics because we have so many simple proofs that he wants to ignore and not talk about that clearly prove the shape of the Earth and a heliocentric model. I would love to discuss Isaiah 40, verse 22. He brought up the Hebrew underlying word, which is hug. I'm sure he doesn't speak Hebrew. And specifically, if we look at this word in all translations, it appeals to the exact same thing. If we look up at the word circle in the dictionary, it will tell you that it's a sphere and it's the earth and it's an orb. So he just wants to hide behind just sounding
liar alert.
The problem is the Bible's very clear. And I get offended by someone that...
Oh, self-projection. I got to add that to the counter, guys, because he just said the Bible makes it very clear to his position, even though he has to use metaphors to make it quote-unquote clear. And with his logical, then continuing on, you can make it make any sense. And that's why there are so denominations. And yeah, let's keep chucking.
Wants to say that the Bible is teaching a flat earth, because that would, in my mind, be heretical. And it's very clear that the Bible is compatible.
How dare you?
Shape of the earth with a heliocentric model. I'm not sure if I understood if he said satellites don't exist, or maybe they don't exist in the way that we describe them. So I'm not sure exactly what his argument was on that particular issue. But again, theoretical physics did not exist at the 1600s or the 1300s, or if we want to go all the way back before the time of Christ, when tons of people had already proven the earth was a sphere. When we talked about Eratosthenes,
guys, literally listen to what he just said. Like, literally think about this. His argument here, he literally ankle bites his own argument. I'm going to go back and play it and just let's talk about it for a second.
That he wants to ignore and not talk about, that clearly prove the shape of the earth and a heliocentric model. I would love to discuss Isaiah 40, verse 22. He brought up the Hebrew underlying word, which is hug. I'm sure he doesn't speak Hebrew. And specifically, if we look at this word in all translations, it appeals to the exact same thing. If we look up at the word circle in the dictionary, it will tell you that it's a sphere and it's the earth and it's an orb. So he just wants to hide behind...
Little does he know, Austin does speak Hebrew.
All right, right here.
On these issues, but the problem is the Bible's very clear. And I get offended by someone that wants to say that the Bible is teaching a flat earth, because that would, in my mind, be heretical. And it's very clear that the Bible is compatible with a spherical shape of the earth, with a heliocentric model.
Metaphorically.
I'm not sure if I understood if he said satellites don't exist, or maybe they don't exist.
I guess I missed it.
Describe them. So I'm not sure exactly what his argument was on that particular issue. But again, theoretical physics...
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
At the 1600s or the 1300s.
Okay, look. Theoretical physics did not exist in those times, okay? They didn't exist in those times. Okay, what else are you going to say here, Kelly?
Or if we want to go all the way back before the time of Christ, when tons of people had already proven the earth was a sphere.
Wait. Wouldn't you need theoretical physics in order to solve for what the shape of the earth was? Right? You couldn't just determine these distances. So he was saying they already figured it out. Okay, well then why, Pastor Kelly, has the earth of the universe been extended over and over and over, and the distances of the stars and the celestial bodies, why have those changed over and over and over? And the distance of the sun and the moon over and over and over. Okay, so you're saying they didn't have theoretical physics back then, but yet they knew that we lived on a ball? What a retarded argument. Honestly, it's so preposterous. What are y'all's thoughts? No one?
Yeah. His argument holds no water. Because anybody that has a decent understanding of the Bible can understand that there's more verses than just the circle of the earth explaining that we live on a fixed, unmovable plane, and a plane means a flat surface that could possibly be rolled out like a scroll and continuous. So his argument holds no water.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Like the bowl that we live in.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I for some reason my audio cut out again, come back in. But he said that theoretical physics didn't exist back then. But it's funny how all of what theoretical physics says that, oh, how the ancients knew all of these truths about, quantum physics and everything that all their new physics is based on, all these truths to be real. It's like, well, I guess they did exist then. It's like, which one is it?
Yeah.
If their physics off of ancient mysticism, but then he's claiming that, oh, that didn't exist, 400 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, he's literally, like I said, he's ankle biting his own argument, and he doesn't even realize it. And why is he looking over there, by the way? Kind of weird, right? And if you notice, I think this is just a little more of his gamma tendencies. And this guy is a gamma 100% in my opinion. Yeah, he has children's, but you'll hear, just listen to some of the things that he says up here. But yeah, let's keep trucking along.
We talked about Eratosthenes. Eratosthenes had discovered the circumference of the earth before the time of Christ. And we have maps, we have globes, we have all kinds of images from the Bible of people showing that the earth is a sphere, believing it's a sphere. I don't need modern scientific theories.
Okay, great job. And we will kick it back to Whitsitt in 1 second for him to address, and I wrote these down. Stars being flipped in the southern hemisphere, the sun rising in the east and the west, Eratosthenes, and the HQ, the who question. And I will add this, though, as the moderator, I get to look things up. And Pastor Shelley just said that circle means a globe, and I just looked it up. Circle, the definition, a closed plane curve consisting of all points at a given distance from a point within it called the center. Not only is that not correct factually, it's actually the opposite.
Can I clarify that point?
No, it's a two-dimensional closed. That's a circle.
Can I clarify what I meant?
I just read you said the dictionary
in the 1828 Webster's dictionary, which would be closer to the 1611 King James Bible when it was translated. If you look at the second definition of the word circle, it literally says orb and sphere and earth.
No problem.
No, it doesn't. It says circle, circuit, compass. That's what the word means in Hebrew. You just
and we do get to fact check you. This is not me being biased.
I have the image. If you want me to pull it up on the screen, I can pull it up.
I'm looking at the concordance right now. Right, it says circle, circuit, compass.
Those are the three words that it's translated as in the King James Bible.
The first definition of 1828 in geometry, a plane figure comprehended by a single curved line called its circumference, every part of which is equally distant from a point called the center. Of course, all lines drawn from the center to the circumference or periphery are equal to each other. That is the first.
What's the second definition?
In popular use, so not the definition. I'm just going to let. When it says in popular use, no, but I'm establishing this. You said the definition is a globe or a ball, but the definition is actually a flat plane. In popular use, which basically means slang, like grabbler.
If you read the first definition, it says in geometry. So yeah, it's saying clarifying in a 2D drawing of geometry. It's
okay. Fair enough. The line that comprehends the figure, the plane or surface comprehended, and the whole body or solid matter of a round substance are demonstrated in a circle, a ring, an orb, the earth. Okay.
So it says ring, circle. I mean, you invoked it geometrically, saying it was describing a sphere. That's a geometric argument.
Yeah, ring is not, but it's fine.
So if we read orb is provided in the definition, and if you just type in
this is
orb,
really a weird reach to me, bro. This is a weird reach.
How is that a weird reach?
Though. I will give you that. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. The word orb is in there. I did not know that, and that is a valid point.
And if you just type in orb into we can put it on the screen, but if you type in orb in the Merriam-Webster 1820
now do orb
and read what it says about what an orb is, there is a very in plain sight saying that it's a sphere.
Yeah, can there something be can something be a circle and not
a fallacy?
In a two-dimensional world, of course, a circle is
do we
not
have
a sphere.
quarters in the real three-dimensional world?
But that's not a sphere, and it's not.
It's a circle.
Not a circle. It's not a circle. It's a disc. So there's a difference.
Okay.
A disc is comprised of two circles.
Real quick, I have to keep this focused. So I'm kicking it back over to Austin. He's now only going to have 2
minutes. Let's take a little pause.
And you have to direct.
Hey Sean, welcome. We're checking through we're about a fourth away through the debate. I'm guessing that you have probably got a chance to check it out, and I watched it. Yeah, there's a lot to critique here, so we're kind of slowly going through it and kind of enjoying it as we go. And but welcome, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for having me. This is the mind-numbing part where they argue about a circle and a sphere. Way too long. Yeah. And Benjamin Haynes this because the context of clay pressed like a seal is not an orb, and the context of a firmament is not an orb. And so this is where you guys have always seen me just cut their knees out and just start with the firmament. Don't start with the immovable foundations. Don't start with the clay like a seal. Don't start with Isaiah 40:22 or the dur. None of that. None of the Hebrew word. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just go straight to the firmament. But that's my bias because I'm a firmamentalist.
Yeah, totally. And I think the firmament squashes a lot of their things, and they have no good example of it. And later in this debate, he kind of skips over it, and then he kind of puts it on Austin to explain what the firmament is. And it's yeah. So I would love to see you debate him specifically about the flat Earth, because I feel like scripturally he couldn't get away with as much, and I feel like he set up early in the debate that Austin lean too much on theoretical physics, when basically all Austin is doing is saying, this is your own theoretical physics. You have to believe that this is true. And he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't know it. So I feel like on a scriptural level, a debate with him would be awesome. But yeah, anyways.
I agree. What we need to do, you remember when Will Duffy came on my channel and then McToon was in his ear the entire 2 hours?
Uh-huh.
So what we need to do is let me be in Austin's ear when he goes in front of these pastors. And for the semi-competent pastor who thinks he knows some science, Austin can obliterate them there, and then whenever the scriptures come up, I can help Austin with the right tactics and the right understandings, the right questions to ask, because that's basically, this pastor is thinking he's got them dead to rights on a 1700s particular dictionary that he's trying to use.
18 whatever, but yeah.
18, because it's supposedly closest related to the KJV, because he's a KJV only, a KJ supremacist, and it's like, this is so silly. It's silly because the context doesn't support a sphere and any other mention of the creation of the earth, of the Haaretz.
Address specifically these points. Hug in Hebrew, which means circle, And according to the 1828 dictionary, which is the closest to the 1611 King James Bible, the second definition in popular use has orb in there. That is the point he's making, okay? So just understand that doesn't make you stupid that you don't know all those points. All right, but anyway, that's the point. Stars in the southern hemisphere have a different path.
What's up, Frankie B?
No, my microphone went out.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're good.
Different constellations. I've heard that a lot. I've heard some interesting and thought-provoking arguments against the flat Earth, saying that in the southern hemisphere, the constellations go the other way.
Let's just focus on one argument, because 2 minutes is not realistic for him to address all that.
Bro, I'm elaborating your argument. I literally am giving you a good argument because I've thought about this. The stars in the southern hemisphere are moving in a way that may contradict the current flat Earth model. Okay. Also, the sun rising in the east, setting in the west, and of course, the pre-Jesus philosopher Eratosthenes, who apparently calculated the size of the Earth on the orb. Okay, so those are the points that need to be addressed, and you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, so the southern star trails, for one, obviously the direction is not a problem at all. It's just merely perspective. If you look south, they'll look like they're going the other way. If they're all just rotating one way, every star in the sky goes east to west, right? So clockwise, counterclockwise, they're relative perceptive directions. I guess the stronger argument you should be making is that it supposedly goes around a central point rotating. And how would it rotate around that point? Well, actually, we have observations of people in the south where it doesn't match where it should be, the actual cardinal direction it should be on the globe. And then, of course, we're not even against all the magnetic declination corrections when you see the star trails and how it's like, oh, well, that's not really south because I have to correct 78 degrees according to my globe declination map. So long story short, where you think that you're seeing it perfectly, it's kind of an assumption. That isn't actually what always happens. And it's been replicated even with the dome. It'll just reflect out the central part and it'll look like it's rotating the other way around. I do agree that the star trails, if you never have heard any of this, you can just say that it doesn't make sense, but you have to look into it, see some visualizations. There are demonstrations that show it. This is exactly what I predicted would happen, though. No one ever addresses the falsification of the R value, and they say, look at the sky, explain the world. So we have sunsets east and west on here, you said. I don't know why is that a problem for the Earth. It's all been perfectly replicated. We can predict every single celestial phenomena. Actually, Shane modeled it all out for you guys because you love models. And then, of course, to try to make it in the 2 minutes, we have very simply, like I said, and this wasn't addressed, there's two different words. One is used for ball or sphere, and one is used for circle. Isaiah specifically uses different terms, right? And one of which he uses for the Earth is a circle. Later. I don't care what American Englandized dictionary said 200 years later.
Did you say something, Sean?
This is where he's referring to Isaiah 22, where it uses the word dur for ball thrown into open field versus hoog in Isaiah 40. Vader, what's your favorite food? No, scratch that. What's your favorite drink? It could be like a soda. It could be a milkshake. What's your favorite drink?
Favorite drink would have to be probably some type of juice.
Okay, so say your favorite juice, let's call it orange juice, and you pour 6 to 8 ounces in a glass. You're about to sip on it and drink it. You love it. It satisfies in every single way. It's the most perfect drink for you. Now imagine someone grabbing your jaw, forcing your mouth open, and then pouring the entire amount as fast as they can down your throat, right? You're not going to enjoy the drink.
Totally.
So this is my only critique of Austin. He goes way too fast. He's got all the answers. He knows exactly the mistakes they're making scientifically, and he can tell when they don't know their own model. He speaks way too fast. The average person can't keep up, and it's like all his precious knowledge is just being wasted because it's being thrown over people's heads way too fast.
Yeah, it's almost like trying to drink like a straw, right? It's easy to take it sip by sip, but then you got like a fire hose, it's going to be impossible. It's impossible to take all that info, and for a lot of people who can hang with what he's saying, they get it. But yeah, I do agree with you. He
That's
is,
how thirsty you are.
and then what they always say. Oh, Austin, you're just speaking word salad because he is going fast and they don't understand what he's saying.
Yeah, so this is the temptation when you know the subject so well, you can dismantle it from 5 different ways. You feel compelled to do that every time you get a chance to speak, as opposed to just finding 1 or 2 solid arguments and sticking or deciding to go with that 1 or 2 solid arguments for his 2 minutes. But he's trying to cover so much ground, such a short time. This is why I do not like this format that they used, where it was 2 minutes back and forth. It's very difficult in debate to get any coherent point out, especially if you're trying to address 4 or 5 different points and as a quick rebuttal. So this is, that type of format mixed with Austin's, blinding speed of wit, and just complete efficiency in these topics. It's the average person can't keep up with him, and that's where I hope over time, as he keeps doing these, he realizes that has the self-awareness of that and just slows himself down and decides to just focus in on one particular rebuttal.
Yeah, it's almost like which was kind of interesting, right? I feel like on the InfoWars debate, and we kind of talked about that on that review. He was way slower and less aggressive in his arguments. So I feel like in many ways he did better in that debate from that aspect than he did in this one. But yeah. Sweet. Let's go ahead.
Hey, Sean. Yeah, do you ever get a chance to talk to Austin? Hey, how you doing? It's Frankie B. You ever get a chance to talk to Austin?
I do, and I'll give him these notes as well.
Yeah, maybe you could coach him up on some of the scriptures, and that is a good idea, putting you in his ear.
I hear you, man, but it's like finding the time for that, because imagine everything he knows, trying to teach me everything he knows.
Right. Yeah.
So just finding the time for that is tough because we're both super busy right now, and I would pray that we get that kind of time in the future, because I've told him before he and I need to do a tag team debate, a 2-on-2 debate with some pastors. Like get Duffy, who's a pastor, and McToon, and let's take them on, because there'll be, we would cover both sides of this, the scripture and the science. But ultimately,
isn't there any way you could send him a PDF of all the scriptures and something that he could use as a cheat sheet?
It's a lot of work to make it.
Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, not just making that, but also the coherency in it, right? So, I can tell you about Michelson-Morley. I can tell you about Einstein's general versus special relativity. I can tell you about dark matter, but I can't tell you about some of the deeper points that he goes into, as far as the advanced physics and the light wave particle matter and traveling and how it works, and different types of interferometers, and he knows a lot more details. So in the same vein, switch that over to scripture. He knows a few concepts from scripture. I know all the details. It would just take a lot of time to get him to that level. Just like and inversely, it would take me a lot of time to truly understand all the nuances and the depth of details that he's studied from the scientific side. So but more than anything, in the meantime, though, if he just slows down a little bit, all these debates, it will be, unfortunately, in a debate, you have to win the audience. So he would win the audience every single time in all these debates if he just slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point to give him. Just that one point alone would probably take him to a whole nother level.
Yeah. And I think Owen Benjamin being here kind of amped him up a little bit too, because this was kind of a unique setting, right? Owen spends the first 5 minutes just putting that guy in misery for mocking them when they opened up. You know what I mean? Just holding them to can we just promise not to do ad hominems? Can you just do that for me? Can you do that for me? Or otherwise I'm gonna have to start talking about your mother. Just that probably just Austin just lost all special decorum and was just like super relaxed after that, which means he's going to start talking at lightning speed.
Yeah. That was so funny. I think it was really interesting because he literally couldn't just say, yeah, I won't do it. And then when he was like, well, I can't do my opening because it has ad hominem, so I guess I'll just come up with these points.
Yeah, like talk about telling on yourself. Like, come on, dude. Quit being so like clearly he's pandering to his audience that expects him to mock this topic. And so I couldn't believe he was so transparent. Oh, well, I guess I have to adjust my opening because it says I can't mock you.
Yeah, and he makes some other transparent comments up here. Pretty telling. It's interesting that they throw the cult word around to these communities, and it's a self-projection. And I don't know if you saw on YouTube, but we got a self-projection counter for Pastor Kelly. So if you feel like he hit a self-projection, please let us know. But yeah, let's keep trucking.
That doesn't change it.
All right, we're about to send it back over, and I want to do a follow-up, just like I did with him with the church, like because there's questions I have with the flat Earth model. Austin, how do you explain that in the southern hemisphere the days are longer in the summer, shorter in the winter, and they have allegedly, I've never been there, but allegedly there's 24 hours of daylight when you get close to the South Pole. When you get really south and Chile, like, would that mean the sun would have to go faster on there? Like, that to me is pointing towards a heliocentric. And how would you clarify that? Like, how would you clarify the very long days in the southern hemisphere in the winter and the very short days in the in our summer?
Yeah, so it's the same. It's the same way that the globe explains how the Earth spins faster at the equator than at a northern or southern latitude. So you have tangential velocity and angular velocity, meaning it can continue to go at the same angular velocity, but go faster. So in the south, it would have to be speeding up like in tangential speed, tangential velocity, but it could just maintain the same angular speed. It would give you a longer day because the sun is going to be over a portion of it longer. And then this ties in, the end of that answer also ties into the next question you asked, which is like, say, the 24-hour sun. Well, we don't actually see the 24-hour sun itself, right? They doctor footage, but we see the daylight, and the daylight has been replicated also with a dome. If you have a dome, like the scriptures blatantly say, with a firmament, it will actually reflect around in something called a coffee cup caustic. And it reflects around the entire brim of a dome. So the 24-hour sunlight is not a problem for the plain Earth. The 24-hour sun would be. And of course, they passed around this footage of supposedly a 24-hour sun for 2 years, and we found out that they faked it. They came out and admitted that it was fake. So, yeah, that kind of answers both of those questions if there's a container.
Yeah, because 24-hour sun, I don't think it is possible on a flight. Like, it would have to be like a glow. You know what I mean? Like, if it's going all the way around, if you saw the sun all day long, it would have to be a ball. But you're making the claim that they faked that footage, and I've never been there. But you see, Pastor Shelley, I'm going both sides here.
Can I comment on that?
Swing it.
I love Owen Benjamin. To me, he's almost like a little, like a kid in like a coffee shop. Like, I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it than that.
Yeah, I'm about to swing it back over to you.
Real quick, I just want to make a touch on, again, Austin, he's so smart, man. He's so smart. I don't think the pastor understood anything Austin just said. So again, in a debate, maybe it doesn't matter if your opponent truly understands you or not, because again, it's about the audience. And so I don't know if the average person understood what Austin just said as far as tangential and angular speed, as far as having that inside of a dome and a firmament. So this is where, like in Enoch 72, verse 4 and 5, where it talks about the sun that goes forth in its circumference in the firmament, and as illuminating heat and fire, the chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that it comes to the appropriate portal and shines in the face of the heaven. So it's talking about in its circumference as it goes down and then returns back. And so this is why you have those videos in the north where they're following the sun over the horizon, and it looks like the sun is rising and falling in its position in the firmament, because it is according to First Enoch. And now you put it into the gates, put it into the sixth gate, which would be the southern hemisphere, which would be their summertime, and the northern hemisphere's wintertime, and it's going to go faster in that gate because it's got to come back and fall to the north and rise again to get to the east, the eastern side of the firmament. So this is just where understanding the actual model that Scripture describes will help you with your observational explanation and even your scientific understanding as far as guessing how the mechanics of the sun in its circumference in the heaven is moving. And this is where, Abba willing, Austin and I will keep being able to communicate and build our relationship, and I can bring him up to speed on some of these ideas.
Yeah, and another one is right. It's when the sun is described as a bridegroom coming out of his out of his chambers, right, to run his circuit. Right, it's the sun moving, and he gets into some more scripture to speak. And it's interesting. We'll bring it up more then, but it's literally in his own argument, and he does this a lot. He ankle bites it himself, and he doesn't even realize it.
And in that Psalm 19:6 and 7 passage with the sun rising and going forth like a bridegroom, that Hebrew word is where this pastor nor Austin, I don't think either one of them looked up that Hebrew word, because that same word is used in First Enoch 2, where it talks about the sun rising and going forth. Not the part I just read said the sun goes down to get to the north. Mm-hmm. That's different. Yeah. Or rising, Hebrew, which means literally going forth. So in English, we hear the word rising and we think rising from top to bottom or bottom to top. But it's not. It's a poor translation, basically, because in the Hebrew it means going forth. It's going forth is from one side of the heaven to the other. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the pastor doesn't know that. He just sees the word rise and thinks bull.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were talking earlier. You kind of brought it up where we were saying like he doesn't even. I wonder if the pastor. I was saying I wonder if he is just listen. He's not listening. He's waiting to talk. But then at the same time, like some of the arguments, it seems like he knows what to attack. As one example, in the beginning when he was giving his points, he was talking about long distance observation, because he knows if you can indeed, and that's why there's so much push with refraction and all these excuses and moving the goalpost when it comes to long distance observations. Is because if the radius value is falsified, it literally their house of cards of the modern physics comes falling down, and we see that with dark matter too.
Unfortunately, I don't think the radius value was. I don't think he understands what it was, and I think during their open discussion cross, I think this was a moment where I think. Austin could have just asked him very plainly, do you understand what I'm talking about when I say we falsified the radius value? Because I don't think he understands it at all. He's never heard it before. Interesting. And by the way, this body language, he's biting his lip to not say something because he's wanting to mock so bad. he's doing everything he can to remain straight-faced, but it's his lips are giving him away.
Yeah, he's very grabbly in his movements, but yeah, let's keep trucking.
So let's do another 2 minutes each, and then I'll let you guys kind of go back and forth a bit, and then we'll do some closing statements. Or do you want to take questions from the audience, whatever you guys want, or we can go as long as you want. I'm feeling good about this. Good job with the ad hominems. I want you to know that I wasn't being a dick. It really does help. All right, 2 minutes, Pastor Shelley, go ahead.
Well, what Austin said does not explain why there's seasonality in the southern hemisphere and you see longer daylight cycles, because specifically it's the tilt of the earth. It's the tilt of the earth that causes that. So in some parts of the season, the tilt is angled more towards the sun, so it gets more daylight. If the Earth was not tilted, then you would have just perfect 12-hour daylight and nighttime seasons. And near the equator, because it's virtually the same distance to the sun no matter where it orbits the sun, that's why it's at 12. But when you go in Dallas, sometimes it's 14 hours during the summer, sometimes it's 11 hours for the winter cycle. That's due to the tilt of the Earth and it being slightly further away from the sun. It's not about the tangential velocity that he brought up. So he's just flat wrong, even on our viewpoint. Specifically when it comes,
I'm pretty sure that the during our winter time that the Earth is further away from, or is closer to the sun during the winter time. But they say
and
that
it's only because of the
that has
tilt.
no
It's
effect.
winter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this guy doesn't know his own model.
No, he doesn't. And that, so yeah, let's add a number to the self-projection, because he literally says that Austin doesn't even know their model, when indeed, actually, Pastor Kelly, you don't know the quote-unquote modern scientific heliocentric model. So yeah, let's keep trucking.
To Isaiah 40:22, I just wanted to comment, because if you read the Douay Rheims, which was translated in 1500s, in the 1500s, they translated Isaiah 40 verse 22 as the globe of the earth. The 1602 Purificada, the Spanish Bible, said El Globo de la Tierra, which means the exact same thing, globe of the earth. If we look at the King James where it says circle of the earth, we all understand that we don't live in a two-dimensional world. And so that's why it's relevant what that would mean in a three-dimensional world. And I brought up.
Oh, you get more time. It's 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. At three-dimensional
it's
world,
a warning bell.
It's important that the sphere would be the definition so that we can understand what we're talking about here.
Then why don't they use der? Why does it use hook and not der? In what, 1922 Isaiah I think it's 1922, right? It says, because you've done this, I will crumple you up into a ball and toss you into the nations. That's literally the word. Why didn't they just use ball? It makes zero logical sense what he's saying here. What were you going to say, Sean?
And also he misrepresented the Douay Rheims like very poorly. So yes, there was the initial New Testament was published in 1582, but it was in the mid 1700s they revised it. When they revised it, they changed, they corrected it along the lines of the Clementine edition with the Vulgate, and added some original Greek and Hebrew manuscripts as far as how they revised it in the mid 1700s, specifically with some of the vocabulary and the sentence structures. So yeah, they would have changed lots of words, and I believe this would have been one of them, because at that point they'd already had mid 1700s. The Catholic Church was in full heliocentric mode.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've showed this before on my stream. I have a 1963 encyclopedia set. And in its natural science, it literally has the debate between, I forget the character, but Galileo, basically looking at the two evidences, and the evidence basically over and over and over was, look how this contradicts the scriptures. So and I'm not saying the argument in there was from 1963. I'm saying that was still important to put into a natural science book in 1963. So, yeah, he misrepresents even his own side quite often.
I did want to also comment when he brought up the idea of explaining Michelson-Morley or any of these other things. He's really just not addressing the issue. When he talked about the stars in the northern and the southern hemisphere, he did not give a response that made any sense. It's very clear that if you're looking at it from two different perspectives, it would be upside down.
Okay, it's been 2 minutes. So I'm going to follow up a little bit, because you're claiming he's not giving any argument. But, you know, like, what's your evidence for the tilt of the earth? You just stated that as fact and said he was wrong. So what is your evidence that the tilt of the earth is why the days change, the seasons? Because obviously I learned that in school. We all know about the tilt of the earth. How do you state that as a fact, and what is your evidence?
So there's multiple evidences. Number one, half of the year, the North Pole is.
That's observation. I'm not trying to be rude to cut you off, but evidence isn't an observation. So when you say there's a longer day in the Northern Hemisphere, that isn't evidence that the earth is tilted. That's an observation. And then you make a hypothesis, and then you're supposed to do a test, an experiment, and then you're supposed to get a theory, test the theory. That's actually the scientific method. When you say the stars look different, it's a globe, that's actually the first step of the scientific method is observation. Then you make a hypothesis, then you prove the hypothesis. So what is the evidence that that the earth is tilted?
Well, the way people did calculate this was based on observations of daylight being different. So if I can calculate the difference of how much daylight there is, then I could calculate the tilt of the earth and seasonality and the fact that we have summer and winter and the fact that we have full daylight cycles in the northern and southern pole. So based on
and I'm not being biased,
you can
that's
calculate
not science. You saying my dog is slow, therefore he ate a shoe. It's like if you make an observation that there's different days and seasons and all that, and then you say, therefore it's a globe, you have to prove how you know
asking specifically about the tilt of the earth.
Right, you
don't even know how they came up with the tilt of the earth, though. Do you know how they came up with the tilt of the earth?
What is the experiment that shows that we are on a ball that's tilted? Not an observation with a hypothesis. What is the evidence? What shows that we are on a globe that's tilted? What is the evidence? Because you stated it as a fact.
So if I go in a spaceship and I observe that the earth is tilted, that is not evidence.
Your model says you wouldn't be able to see that the earth was tilted in space. See, this is what I'm saying. That you don't know how it happened, but the way it is the sun moves on an ecliptic. We have an analemma. And they saw that the sun moves through the sky at an angle, and they said, okay, well, if we assume we're on the earth as a sphere moving, that must mean the earth is tilted, causing the illusion that the earth or the sun is on that circuit.
So I want to make it clear that when Austin brings up every observation, he's not allowed to make that argument. So any observation he's ever made.
This is such a weak argument. He's basically saying, Austin, you can't use observations as evidence, and he's doing that because he does know what the R value is. He's preloading this idea, I believe here, to basically say that Austin, you can't use observations because you're saying that I can't use observations because if I went out in space, I could see the tilt, not understanding that he actually couldn't because within special relativity, there is no up, there is no down, there is no left, there is no right, there is no such thing as a tilt. So it's preposterous.
Seeing the distance of anything or anything he's ever seen cannot be brought as an argument because somehow that's not evidence. Like making sense.
You can do an experiment yourself, like snipers. You can do those experiments and with the scientific method and do all that. A hypothesis is not evidence, like just a theory. Einstein was famous for that.
Me observing the sun for 24 hours in the North Pole is not a hypothesis.
That matches the flat Earth prediction. Why wouldn't that work on a flat Earth?
Because it's also observed on the South Pole. The South
Pole.
So
you just immediately shifted over to a totally different claim.
It's the same. If you have half of the year where you can have total sunlight in the North Pole, and then the other half of the year you have total sunlight in the South Pole, that's proof of two different things: the sphere and the tilt of the Earth. Because the only reason you have the sunlight is because since the globe is tilted towards the sun while it's rotating, it still has daylight. But the South Pole doesn't because it's turned away from the sun. Whereas when you're on the other side, the South Pole is now getting 24 daylight. 24 hours, and the North Pole does not have 24-hour daylight. This is observed by people in Alaska and even parts of Russia, and specifically in the North Pole.
It works on a flat Earth.
And the South Pole. No, it doesn't work on the South Pole.
Boys, let me just interject real quick, just to get us back on track.
Did he not just say it doesn't work in the South Pole? Didn't he just say that?
He was talking about on the FE model, it doesn't work in the South Pole. According to him, he also has the claim that it works in the South Pole on the globe model, but that's not something he can verify. So in the same way that we can verify the North, people in like northern Norway can see the sun rotating in its smaller circuit, and never lose sight of it, almost get entire 24 hours of sunlight.
Tons of videos of that as well.
You're right, tons of videos. I don't know the name of the fallacy, of the debate fallacy that he's committing, but he immediately switched it to saying, since we can validate the North, therefore the claims that are made about the South must be true as well.
Yeah, and both of the examples he uses, right? He says in Russia and Alaska, both North, not right. Russia and Antarctica.
Right. So I don't know what fallacy that's called, but basically just assuming the claims in the South are true because we can validate the claims in the North. That's just a serious logical fallacy.
Isn't that a red herring? Like when he's or it's almost like a red herring and a straw man in one.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah, something.
That is a valid model. So I'm just going to ask you this, Pastor Shelley. Let's say that is true. Like what you just described, I understand. That makes sense. That is a possible model. I want to hear what your opinion is. Do you think it is possible that there is another possibility that explains the phenomenon you described, or does it have to be the tilted globe? Is that the only possible answer to that phenomenon you witness, or could it be another one? Are you capable of saying that it could be something else, or does it have to be what you just described?
Well, based on those, if we're just isolating just those simple observations, of course that doesn't give us the full model. Absolutely not. I think it's a combination of multiple evidences all pieced together that all tell the exact same story.
Cool. Great. So you can admit that like observing something doesn't solidify your model, even if your model does work.
Well, again, if I see a literal picture of the sphere, if I go out into space and see this picture of the sphere, that single proof would be enough.
But you've never been in space, though. So you can't claim a spatial observation because you've never been in space.
That's true. I've never been inside the White House, but
we run into a wall here.
That's another type of fallacy, right? Like it has to be. He's basically equating, like how many people within history have been in the White House, how many people quote unquote have been in space. So yeah, not a very good argument there, Pastor Kelly.
We run into a wall because I've never been to Antarctica. I don't know what they're there. I can't prove a model, but we all have to admit that we either have to trust NASA's word, which is, some people have a right to not trust NASA, or we have to go to space ourselves, or we can admit we don't know. That is valid, and that doesn't make someone stupid. Okay, let's swing it over to Austin. Austin, I don't know, 2 minutes, make an argument, and then Pastor Shelley will go back, and then, we'll go from there. I think we're really accomplishing something here today, fellas. The people in my chat are saying that everyone's doing good. Everyone's being respectful. The key is respect, man. That's it. Like, as long as we're not yelling at each other and saying everyone's stupid and everyone's evil, this is a win-win. All right, 2 minutes. Austin, go ahead.
Yeah, so, we see the sun move around us 360 degrees in the north, right? You can take trips and cruises to go see it. That's exactly what's expected on a flat Earth, right? Because the sun is just moving. The seasons on the flat Earth as the sun moves in and out. Now, the exclusivity would come with the south. Well, you can't book. There are millions of videos of the sun doing it in the north. There are cruises you can take. Can you take a cruise to go see the 24-hour sun in Antarctica? No. We've actually called and asked if none of them exist. Are there millions of videos of that one? No. Can you freely and privately explore there? No. You can only go to approved guided tours. I know a former NASA employee that was stationed there for 6 months said you never see the sun itself in the sky for 24 hours. And he was there during their summer, 6 months. So we would need actual verifiable evidence of that claim. Obviously, I don't believe in the claims about going to space either, because we've caught them faking things. And if I catch you faking things, and you're a federal government agency, your kind of MO is to fake things, why would I, build my entire worldview upon you doing that? What I want to know is how we're shooting radio waves thousands of miles horizontally over large bodies of water when the curvature of the Earth should block the radio waves, right? That means that there is no curvature there blocking the radio waves. That now falsifies the radius value. So like all these other questions you have wouldn't really matter. So we can level with each other and agree that if we falsified the radius value, it would falsify the entire globe model. And then you can maybe address the way we falsified it. That's the most efficient way to have this conversation, not just be like, well, how would you explain this? How would you explain that? So yeah, we falsify the radius value with line of sight, long distance radio wave propagation.
Okay, well done, Austin. Let's swing it back to the pastor. Let's see how he wants to respond to that. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Eratosthenes already proved the radius of the Earth and the circumference. He didn't need any of these fancy devices to.
He already proved it, guys. He already proved it. I thought there was no theoretical physics back then, Pastor Kelly.
Well, not just that, but when you do an experiment that gives you one outcome based on your hypothesis premise, and then you can get a different outcome, or you can prove a different hypothesis premise with the same experiment, then you know that the experiment is bad. Because now you have, the ball Earth versus the small and local sun. So you would know that you can't get the same outcome with two completely different starting premises as your hypothesis. And both hypotheses be true, right? One of them has to be true. And that just means the experiment doesn't prove anything. So this is, and also, Vader, what do you think about this? Since 2016, 2015, not only Eratosthenes, but I start seeing more and more people are saying, oh, they proved the Earth was a ball 2,500 years ago.
Yeah, they always make those claims.
Yeah, but I never heard that before this FE concept became mainstream discussion. And it's like suddenly, without validation, it's like, oh yeah, the Greeks knew it was a ball Earth. I'm like, actually, have you read their writings? They talked about the celestial spheres in the sky, but they also knew that there was a firmament.
And what was the big deal around Nicholas Copernicus and his theory? Right. Why was there any flack there? What were you saying, Austin?
Yeah.
Kyle.
I was saying, the whole, 1492, sail the ocean blue. I thought that was when they,
Right.
they knew for sure that the Earth was a ball. Mm-hmm. It just keeps changing. They keep pushing it further back.
Right. Yeah, it makes no sense with their previous narrative, because now they're just trying to claim supremacy of history, which is what, on the religious side, you guys have seen me encounter this when you come across the Trinity discussion. Well, they'll just say, oh, well, they've always known it's a Trinity. Like even the prophets in the Old Testament knew it's a Trinity. Mm-hmm. And then they just go in and start eisegetically assuming things from certain passages, because they don't want to admit that it took about 200 to 300 years for them to finalize through different canons, different councils, the idea of the Trinity. And so they'll never want to admit that. So I agree, Kyle, like not just Columbus, but there wouldn't have been a reason for the Catholic Church to persecute these supposed debate, with geocentrism versus heliocentrism. And also the idea of Martin Luther talking about the firmament in the 1500s. Like there wouldn't be no reason for them to have those discussions. If it was just known for 2,500 years.
Yeah, and right. he all the time is calling to the fact that, oh, here, look at all these examples of they knew that it was a globe in the 1400s, the 1700s, completely ignoring that it was a debate at that point. It's preposterous. And the last thing I want to mention is we talked about this before when we talked about the Trinity, the heliocentric model, and the eternal punishment. How they literally use the scriptures that disprove their points, and they're by interpreting it in their ways, that it's just so interesting to me that they do that. And I wonder, and then what Kyle basically said, well, it's because that they have to use the things that prove, that's the only things they can reach to is the circle of the earth. Circle we know is a orb therefore is sphere is there for heliocentric model. You know what I mean? It's preposterous. All right, let's keep trucking.
Figure that out. But again, that's what...
That's appeal to authority. I'm going to start using the horn, okay? That's the appeal to authority fallacy. When you're in a debate and you say, a guy who was dead 2,500 years ago already proved all this, I don't have to argue it. That's literally a fundamental logic fallacy. Go ahead.
How's that not a fact of history?
It's called the appeal to authority fallacy, where you just say, this guy did it 2,500 years ago.
Did you blow the horn when he appealed to Michelson Morey, disprove the Earth is moving?
I'll do it right now.
Blow
there
the
you
horn
go.
then. Okay.
Okay, I'll blow that horn. Michelson Morley. Well, the difference is the Michelson Morley experiment is a famous experiment that can be replicated.
So Eratosthenes is not a famous experiment that could be replicated? I don't know who I'm arguing with. Why can't I argue with Austin? Because
he's getting so triggered here.
In all fairness, I was confused about the role of the moderator in this debate as it continued to drag on. I think I understand the heart behind it, him wanting to summarize the rebuttals and the points made, but it's just difficult for people to follow because you know how smart Owen is, and he just throws in all these little whips as he talks. And I just thought it became more of a distraction, to be honest.
Totally. I get that. What I will say is I am interested into how this even happened. Doesn't this seem like such an odd, like Austin and Owen, okay, I get that, but then how did this whole thing even come about is very interesting.
That's what I texted Austin during the debate, and I said, hey, this pastor is giving you answers beyond his obvious level of research. I said, at the end of this, you should ask him if he's friends with MC Toon or if MC Toon helped him prepare for this debate. The reason why I say that, guys, is because Will Duffy admitted that MC Toon was coaching him, not just during our conversation, but previously. So MC Toon, this could be a strategy where he's going to different pastors and trying to say, let's get you to debate the flat earthers as a pastor, and I'll coach you. I'll help you with rebuttals to their arguments from a scientific basis. And then you provide the scriptural basis, kind of like what I suggested with Austin. And I think MC Toon could, we don't know, this is my speculation, that he could be helping organize these type of conversations. Did you know that MC Toon is a part of that final experiment they're trying to do?
What? No, I don't know what final experiment.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it's like prove the Earth is round or flat. Like we even need to do that at this point. Type of. Yeah. It's going to be another, probably another mockery thing to make flat Earth look stupid.
No, what they're trying to do is they're trying to send a flat earther to Antarctica. Pay for it, literally pay for it somehow. And arrange it so that he can, I guess, in some way falsify the FE claims. And so I heard Will Duffy on another show talking about this with somebody. I can't remember what show it was. And that's why during my discussion with him, he asked me if I'd received the invitation for the final experiment. And then he played coy as if he wasn't a part of it, which he absolutely is a part of it. It's him and MC Toon. So all I'm trying to say is they have been scheming for almost 2 years on how to address this topic from a pro-globe standpoint and address the scriptural side of this for scripture believers. And that's why MC Toon has been in Duffy's ear, getting him built up and thinking, oh, I'm going to give you some I'll literally just be typing the answers and rebuttals to what Sean says from a pro-globe scientific standpoint, and then you can provide your scriptural ideas. Did you guys know after that discussion, Will Duffy sent me this really long article that he mentioned at the beginning of the show, where he is trying to make a case for the firmament to actually be the ground, the land of the earth.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard that.
Yeah, and that was from a specific pastor who apparently has passed away now. And that he had this whole breakdown trying to show and this obviously stuff taken out of context to try to make that example, but that's so basically they're trying to hit it from both sides, just like we joked about Austin and I doing a debate together, attacking it from both sides. They're trying to attack it, and so I would not be surprised, Vader, if this pastor was contacted by MC Toon and says, "Hey, I've been debating flat earthers, and I've debated this, the specific Austin guy a whole bunch, and I'll help you overcome his claims." And that's why, with obvious ignorance of his own model, this pastor can look like he's so confident and has so much bravado because it feels like he was being coached. And we don't know what he's looking at. He literally could be looking at, just like Duffy was in my discussion, he could be looking at answers being fed to him by McToon.
Well, what I will say is that kind of actually makes sense from what I was trying to say earlier, where he's making like those statements where he's like, well, you can't use evidence. So it's like, it seems like he knows something, but he really doesn't know much. And he does just rely on these kind of memes at these point of evidence that the Aristophanes and the different various things he said. So
you did say what's he looking over at?
Yeah, no, we saw him multiple times looking over to his right.
Here's the thing about these debates. When you're in the heat of the moment of a debate, like you guys have seen me be in, it's hard to think of all the different angles, or sometimes you don't choose the best angle to rebut. But the audience, from a relaxed third party observation, it's like easy to say, oh man, why didn't he say this to respond? Why didn't he say that to respond? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's just like, oh, well, what's stopping these people from having someone in their ear or on their computer screen who's an objective third party listening to the conversation and saying, oh, hit him with this during your 2-minute rebuttal. Here's how you approach that. Someone who's very much a pro globe and who's very good at twisting. Have you guys ever listened or seen MC Toon?
McToon.
And how he does.
I call him.
Yeah, I've spoken to him personally on Facebook.
Okay, he is extremely slick in how he twists things in order to try to prove, to be pro-globe arguments.
He's like a Sadducee.
So, I would just, it would make a lot of sense. And, look, I'm just throwing this out there just playfully, but I mean, he looks like an FBI agent. But that's neither here nor there.
What's kind of weird about that? How Owen called him, and it made me think he called him Anderson, and it made me think of the Matrix, right, like Mr. Anderson, but then it made me think of the agent. So
yeah. Again, I'm not saying that he is. He's probably, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he's just a seemingly zealous pro-globe person that has all this extra time in his personal life to study these arguments and come up with all these pro-globe concepts. But and then obviously YouTube's going to promote the pro-globe channels like crazy. Yeah. But ultimately, like, it makes me wonder. And I'm sorry to get on tangent, but I had the same watching this debate. That was like my first question, because I sat down to watch with my wife, and that was like my first question was, how did these three get on screen together? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's very odd, and Owen there too. I don't know, but let's keep chugging.
Because you're being very biased here, and you're not even being fair.
I apologize.
That's a complete.
I apologize. I will take a step back. You have to. I will not interrupt again. I was just saying that saying Aristophanes did it is.
That's no different than the argument that he made with Mickelson Moray.
I didn't blow the horn when you said believing in a flat earth is heresy. Okay, I've been very generous with the horn.
That's not ad hominem. It's my view.
Heresy. It's heresy. So you're in a debate with someone that you believe is a heretic and stupid and crazy. And I did not blow that damn horn.
That was the poster that I sent to both of you before the show. I mean, I didn't hide that. I've preached that. I can't go back and unpreach the things that I preached.
I can't.
He can't. That's called being unteachable, brother.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, it's actually called repenting. And he's just basically saying, my pride is immovable. I can't possibly go against my pride.
Yeah, and he also indicates he can't go against some of these ideas because he'll be kicked out of his CO13 or whatever it's called.
Well, is he actually like affiliated with Steven Anderson's church or denomination or something or congregation?
Well, his channel's called The Baptist Bias, and he says his name is Pastor. So I have no idea who this guy is. I have never heard of him before this. I would have never heard him if these two characters weren't on his channel. So I have no idea.
Well, Steven Anderson is very, very anti, biblical cosmology. He is super outspoken. But although you don't ever see him in debates, but he's so against it, I could totally see his quote unquote ministry getting involved with other individuals who may be trying to put a quash to this. The good thing is truth doesn't need to be defended, and it's self-evident. So, if anyone really wants to look, they'll find it.
I wonder if Pastor Anderson can see the curvature when he stands on top of his podium. Shouts down at people.
Oh, he's pretty high.
Hey, real quick, if interesting. If this guy, never mind. That I don't want to derail too much. I just will say though, the whole time I was watching this, he says the Baptist bias is behind him on that sign. I just wanted to make a meme where it just says the Glober bias and just cross out the word Baptist, put in Glober.
I did the Baptist face palm because or in the chat because some of the things he was saying, he's he doesn't realize what he's saying, and that's when again more proof to kind of your speculation on having someone in his ear or coaching at the very least. So yeah,
to not understand, we know that most people that defend the globe don't understand their own model. That's kind of a given, but it's when you just demonstrate that you don't understand your own model and you do it with a seemingly slick, partially advanced Glober argument, that's the disconnect that throws up the suspicion flag for me. And you're wait a minute. You don't seem studied enough in the basics of your own model to be arguing with this slightly advanced Glober argument. So what's going on? Where's the disconnect here? And I just strongly feel somebody was prepping him, coaching him.
Yeah, very least, if not directly in his ear. But let's keep chugging.
Honk my horn. So what the best we can do is I'll give you 2 minutes and I'll take a step back. Go ahead.
Can I just ask Austin, what was the first point that you brought up? I just want to remind myself.
You just diverted away from the radio waves. So the radio waves falsify the radius value, and we want to talk about everything except for the radius value for some reason, but that's what always happens.
Again, I don't know that it matters if we focus solely on the radius when we have plenty of other proofs, specifically of the spherical Earth, or when it comes to the orbit, such as seasons. And again,
see, this is where Austin needs
there's so many different things.
Go ahead.
Just real quick, this is where Austin needs an actual picture. I don't think this guy truly understands what he means by the radius value. And he wants to dismiss it and say, well, we just have pictures from orbit and we have all this other proof, so it doesn't matter. But this is the fundamental concept of all the geometry and the math behind the globe model is if you have to have a radius value that they base their trigonometry off of. So if you falsify that, then the entire model's off.
Yeah,
it's
literally the size and distance of planets, of the moon, of the sun, of everything.
Yeah,
right. And this guy doesn't understand that. This is why I say he's not studied on the topic. He's savvy enough to use the language that that Austin uses to then just dance around it and say we don't need it because we got all this other proof. But that's where I think Austin, it would benefit him in the future if he had some sort of diagram that he could quickly put on screen, or who knows, make flashcards out of it and just put it near the camera. You know what I'm saying? And just be like, look, boom, here's a flashcard. Like,
actually,
look at this,
that's
man.
actually a really good idea, because right here, obviously, they have control of the production side, so
right.
He doesn't have that. But yeah, having something to point to would be amazing.
Is ultimately, like, without pictures, the average person doesn't understand these words. We're never taught these words, and this is why most of Austin's arguments goes over people's heads.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep checking.
That I would love to even just show on the screen. I don't know if we're allowed to do that now or whatever, but when it comes to observing things in Antarctica, it was brought up multiple times that you can't go there, you can't see it. There are people that have circled Antarctica. They took a voyage from the southern tip of South Africa, and they circled the entire Antarctica and then sailed down into Australia.
Did they circle it or did they orbit? I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
They circled it. And so specifically, there's pictures, video, there's all the different information about that specific event. So again, all their side's going to say is that this is just fake. Everything's fake. Everybody's an actor. All of it's CGI. But it's just like there's so many people that are physically disproving their claims. There's a guy who doesn't have anything to do with this debate who literally filmed a 360 view of Antarctica, and you can watch the sun go around in a 360 view, which would instantly disprove their claim. So there's plenty of evidences. There's plenty of people that have pointed this out. It's just they want to ignore that evidence.
Okay, that's a valid point. Austin, how do you respond to the fact that there are people who have recorded a 24-hour sun, and they've traveled the circumference of Antarctica, and they put it online, and they appear to be unbiased? What say you? 2 minutes? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually know all about, you have to look all into that trip and just map it on a plain Earth. It's not impossible on a plain Earth that they sailed in the south. It's not like they could see Antarctica the entire time. That's not how it worked, right? So they assume the Earth's a sphere, and then they sail there. And actually, if you look at the trips that do that, the boats can max out at like 30 knots, and they're in races. But for some reason, when they're in the south, they're going 4 knots. And that would make perfect sense on a flat Earth as the distance is much greater, right? And so they're traveling further, and they're determining their speed based on distance over time, assuming it's shorter. So if you actually look deeper into those paths, it's actually kind of leans towards the flat Earth position. The 24-hour sun, I've always been very honest about that. You're right. If it's exactly the same as it is in the north, that matches the globe perfectly and not a flat Earth. Okay, but then they posted this video out there, and everyone went around, oh, flat Earth's over. We dissected it and saw that they looped it around. Actually, they added the beginning to the end and looped it back around, and we pointed that out, and everyone gaslit us. They didn't fake that. They ended up coming out and admitting, yes, we faked it because we didn't have the full 24 hours. The most popular one with a little watch on the ground where they go around, they got clouds in the sky with the mountains, was admittedly faked. And then we caught them faking another one, and there's only a couple that have ever been put there. All the government cameras that are out there, none of them get 24-hour sun in their video. They have to shut it down conveniently 8 hours a day. So there's actually a pretty gross lack of evidence for that.
Okay, I will hit back a little bit. One thing, a compelling argument against flat Earth is how many people would have to be in on it. So all the industries, all the people doing these videos, all the people doing the cameras, how would that be managed if they are intentionally deceiving? Because that is something that is a valid point. So if you have Pastor Shelley saying that you have people that go there and do this stuff, and then the answer is they admit they lied or they're caught lying, when that number gets big enough, how are that many people lying and deceiving, and how is that managed? And that just seems like a nightmare to manage. So, Austin, what say you? Or no, we have to, that's just a follow-up, then I'll kick it back, but I'm trying to be unbiased. It's a valid thing. How are they faking this? How are they deceiving? How would so many people be in on it?
Yeah, so most people believe the Earth's a globe. Almost no one's in on it. Like, yeah, if there was a really large amount of people lying, wouldn't be feasible. It would remain a lie. Right? Someone would spill the beans or whatever. Which actually, some astronauts even have come out and said we've never been to space. No one's going to space. They're lying, and the Earth's flat. Literal former Soviet astronauts. But the government, right? They have compartmentalization and NDA. So when it comes to NASA, I know NASA employees, they don't know anything. They just do their job. The amount of people that would actually have to be lying about this is a very small amount. No one doing the satellites would have to be lying because they put it up. They assume that the Earth's a globe when actually it's just a transform over a plane, et cetera, et cetera. And we can get into all the technicalities, which is what is needed to fully understand it. But long story short, if I found adoption papers and said, look, man, turns out that those aren't really my parents, and I came and told you my whole life's a lie, I was adopted, and then you say, but wait, is everyone in the church in it? Is everyone at the school in on it? I'd be like, no, man, they believe that those are my parents. Most people just think the Earth's a globe. Most scientists try to explain it within that assumption. The amount of people that would have to lie are very, very small amounts of people. Antarctica is very restricted. And then you get into the government compartmentalization, astronauts, sign NDAs, all former military, intel, et cetera. So it's incredibly feasible that just a few people in the government with NDAs would lie about the small.
I want to say real quick, I think those type of arguments within debates, if he could do that this style with the more scientific ideas, I think that would be a really good recipe to win a lot of people's minds, because those type of simple things that you can understand, a lot of people can understand, I think go a long way in debates. So, yeah, let's keep checking.
Little job that they do. Almost everyone else just believes the lie that pushes it.
Okay, thank you. We're going to send it back to Pastor Shelley. You have 2 minutes. What say you?
So the countries that claim that they went to the moon is the United States, Russia, China, India, Japan, Israel, ESA, Luxembourg, South Korea, Italy, UAE, Mexico, and Pakistan. So they would all have to be in on the scam. 90 countries have satellites. At least one person within their government would have to know that. You have NASA, you have SpaceX. Red Bull actually had a guy jump from space, and they have videos of the globe. You have Dude Perfect literally sent Kobe Cotton up into space, and you have the video. I can play the video right now, and they even ask him, and he clearly says that the Earth is not flat, it's round. Additionally, you have many companies making spacecrafts, satellite companies, airline companies, people who have traveled to Antarctica, scientists, physicists, and astronomers who how can you be a physicist that's studying the orbit, the tilt, and the rotation of the Earth regularly, and you're not even considering the fact that these are lies or something, or that it's flat? I mean,
because you can't prove the distances, you can't measure any of it, and the way that they are quote unquote measuring it has not only the R value presumed into it, but it has all of these years of quote unquote work of these physicists and astronomers built, quote unquote, standing on the shoulders of all these people with all of this bad math, and they have to all assume it's right, hence why they were 97% off, and they had to create dark matter to fill that huge gaping hole.
It's really just absurd, to say the least, to think how many people are not even questioning their own reality, and somehow Austin or other...
Okay, that's a self-projection. I'm going to go ahead and add one to the board because, why is he not questioning the reality that he is so vividly and using zealot amount of might to do? So let's keep checking.
People just... they have this truth that none of these people care about. I mean, to me, it seems like you're attacking all these people as if they're just brain dead idiots, because I just don't understand how I could be studying those models with all of, like, that's my career literally, and I don't get it. He brought up this adoption paper, but here's the thing. All you would need is one person, one of these satellites, one of these individuals to go up and take a picture of the Earth being flat, and then, okay, maybe you have some evidence. You don't have any evidence. Specifically when it comes...
I'm going to do a quick follow-up. Pastor Shelley, do you believe that the climate change models are true?
I think it's theoretically possible that there might be a slight elevation or decrease in the temperature globally, but that it's insignificant and that all of the propaganda attached to it's a lie.
So do you think all of the countries that...
Just let me just say something when it's live. Sorry, guys, our internet just temporarily went down, but we're going to try and bring them back on the show and keep it going. Sorry for the disruption. Let me message them.
Excuse me. I'm going to skip it through a little bit.
Sorry, our router just like died for some stupid minute. I apologize.
No worries. I think this is going quite well. I'm enjoying it. Are you guys all having fun? Any criticisms for me? Am I being biased? You can be honest.
Yeah, it's, at times there's been some inconsistencies, but I think, you know, again, if Austin's up for it, I wouldn't mind going a little bit back and forth instead of just kind of a forced 2 minute, but it's either way.
Yeah, we can totally do that. I just want to, the follow-up was on climate change models and how many countries have to be in on it, because the point you made was about that. And also all the other parts of the Bible, because you've made the claim that it's heresy to believe the earth is flat. And then you have, Job 38 about, that we're on a seal of clay and all that stuff. I was wondering what your comments are with all the descriptions of the earth in the Bible that are not a ball. And is it a debate? Like, is it a debatable thing, or is this
I'd love to talk about any of those.
Go ahead. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. I'm a Bible almost illiterate. I'm just following up with Job 38 about that we're basically on a seal of clay. Like, how does that fit with
yeah, I don't know if my production can pull up that graphic too, but there's this chart I've seen, and it says graphic too. It says like the flat earth Bible verses, and it says it's like 200 different references, and they kind of appealed all these different things.
What was that, Sean?
I thought he was going to bring out the same list from Nathan Robertson that Greg Locke brought out in this moment.
That would have been super funny if it was. And like, no, not that one. Picture 2. Yeah. Let's keep checking.
It's pretty small. You might zoom in just so they can at least see something. Scroll up maybe a little bit. But, I think what you're bringing up, this is Job 38:13, verse 14. This clay under a ring seal, and I've heard that being brought up. The problem is that's just not, number one, that's not what the King James says. I don't even know what version that would even potentially appeal to. And even additionally, the second reference here, Isaiah 40 verse 22, is bringing up the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls doesn't even say disc, it says circle. So I think that there's probably some misinformation when it comes to verses and how they fit to this particular.
And why did he just say disc there? Like, we don't believe we're on a disc. So he says it doesn't say disc, it says circle. Yeah, we believe we live on this circle. Anyways.
Model. But we can pull up.
King James says it is turned as clay to the seal and they stand as a garment.
Yeah, so yeah. In Job 38, verse number 13, I want to make sure.
That's 14, I think. I think it's verse 14.
Yeah, okay. So it's in verse 13, it says that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it. It is turned as clay to the seal, and they shall stand as a garment. Now, in verse 14, it says as clay. The word as is an indication in the modern English language of a metaphor. So specifically, it's not bringing up something that's literal here. And clay,
of course, but the earth isn't literally clay.
The metaphor is that it's a seal to clay, but the shape it would be a circular plane.
Well, clay can be formed into any shape. You can have you could have a spherical pot. So clay.
What was that?
This is the poetry argument. When you hear people that don't want to admit a verse says, they just say, "Oh, this is just poetry," and you're like, "Look, yes, there's poetic prose in the scriptures, but what it's describing is still a real concept." So what all this is like, oh, this is a metaphor. That doesn't negate what it's describing. It's like, yeah, that's fine. There's lots of metaphors in the Bible. It doesn't negate what it's describing, and that's just the part that it's very interesting to me. And I don't know what you guys think, but it's talking about the judgment of God in this context. And I don't know what you guys think about this passage in Job 38, but it's in verses 12 through 15. It's talking about the judgment of God. And to me, this will make perfect sense that a king, while doing judgment, is going to slam his hand down, or the seal that he has to emboss or embold with his ring
to give the order
to give the order for his men to go out and fight for the judgment. You know what I'm saying? And that's why verses 13 talks about shaking the wicked out of the earth, and verse 15 talks about the upraised arm is broken, because this is the wicked who have the high and upraised arm. The right hand, or the raising the, I can't think of the word right now, but raising their defiant hand to God.
Yeah, or their sword, right? You see that in a lot of their iconography too, the upward pointing sword.
So the whole context is about judgment, and it's an ancient reference to a king who issues or decrees battle for judgment. And this is where it's like, and he did that through, usually with orders that would be taken by the carrier to the commanders of the army, with a seal, the king's seal on it, to say this is legit. We're going to war. The king said so. You know what I mean? So, like, the whole thing is just ignoring the actual statement just to say, well, it's just a metaphor. You're like, bro, that doesn't negate what it's saying.
And later on, he's going to bring up in Joshua when the sun and the moon stop, and he turns that where he's like the sun, and he's like, yeah, but like to from their view, right? From their view, it stopped from an earth perspective. But he gives that a metaphorical angle, even though it has no metaphorical language. But let's keep let's start it up.
He's just simply going around and again, my hands, around the ring that's spinning specifically. But you can shape that clay however you want. It doesn't prove.
Yeah, but a seal is never a ball. And how do you have an end on a ball? Like how the ends of the earth, the corners of the earth. Sure. These things are. And I'm no expert. Not in a religious debate, but like those words. If you're going to take Hoog and the circle thing,
sure.
There's no end on a ball. And then the metaphor of a seal is never a ball. And so, is it a debate? Is it an opinion, or is it heresy to believe that is reference to not a ball?
Well, again, my view of heresy is just something that's wrong. But when it comes to
okay, cool. Oh, that's good. Cool.
When it comes to specifically what you're bringing up about the end of the earth, if we go to the coast, that's the end of Florida, or that's the end of the continent, right? So when we're talking about Earth can mean a few different things. Earth could be the entire planet. Earth could be just the dry land. It's described in Genesis chapter 1. Or Earth could refer to the people. And I think a lot of times the argument is missed because people are attributing the wrong definition for the word Earth when it's used. So when we talk about the ends of the Earth, we're talking about the corners and the edges of dry land as they basically end for a continent. So, of course, the ends of the, and we could look up tons of references of ends of the earth in the Bible, and this is very clear, talking about bringing people from the ends of the earth. On the most of these flat earth models that I've seen, they don't believe people live in the ends of the earth. But the Bible's clear that people do live in the ends of the earth, because we're talking about the edges of the coastline. We're not talking about the planet itself as a shape, because, of course, I agree, there's no end of a globe or a sphere, but the Bible doesn't allude to that.
Can I say a couple things about this? So,
you guys just go now. Yeah, go for it.
So Earth does mean land, right? And I think it's actually very profound for cosmology, because what it's saying is he rose the land up out of the water, and that we're surrounded by water everywhere. Directly antithetical to what they're claiming. But just to clarify, right, 38:14 specifically says the earth takes shape like clay pressed under a sill, and then its features stand out like garments. It's just like how they would seal letters. Kings would seal letters, and they would put their clay, stamp it down, seal the letter with their emblem or their crest. It's very specifically saying that it takes shape like that. And it says there's waters above. It says there's a firmament. It says that it's like molten looking glass. It says many things. This is basically to say that it's heretical would be saying that the prophets were heretics. The prophets clearly thought that Hebrew cosmology was true. This new idea that like somehow the Hebrew people didn't think that the earth was a stationary plane with a firmament over top of it with water above it has only somehow become a thing as an anti-flat earth type of push. But most people would say, well, yeah, that's what they thought, but they wrote from what they thought right at the time, what their limited understanding at the time, they wrote through that lens. But for sure, Messiah came, the Hebrew people thought this was what the scriptures said, because it does say that, right? I mean,
can I ask what you mean when you say firmament? What do you mean?
I thought this was Austin's strongest point against a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is really pushing the pastor on his heels to get him to defend himself and defend what he claims, is the inspired word of God, because it is ludicrous for a pastor to claim that the prophets described a ball in space.
Yeah, it's literally preposterous. That was not even any conceptual thing within the Roman Empire at that time, right? Like, no, none of the. And then if you go all the way back to the prophets, for sure not really there. So yeah, it was a great argument.
When you say firmament, what do you believe that is?
Yeah, it says the firmament. It says it's stretched out over top of the earth like clay, or like a tent, and where grasshopper inhabits within it. And it comes from rakia, beaten out, strong as bronze, and it's described as molten looking glass. So it's described as physically holding back water.
Do you believe the firmament is a physical thing? Like, is it a glass dome? Or I'm just curious what your opinion is.
I think there is something physical containing the earth. Yes, I don't know what it
is. That what you call the firmament?
Yes.
Okay. So in Genesis chapter number 1, when the Bible says that the birds fly in the open firmament, what is that?
It actually says upon the open face of the firmament. So it actually, the actual words that the translation comes from tells you that they're flying upon the face of the firmament. And we know that the birds are in the lower heaven described in the scripture, right? So there's layers up, and the birds fly in this lower layer called heaven. There are multiple layers of heaven, and it's all within the firmament. It says it flies upon the face of it, which makes sense. You look up, you see the birds. The firmament would be behind it.
Well, I want to clarify, because in Genesis 1:20, it doesn't say that. It says the fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. So the King James is saying that they fly.
Oops, I wasn't mute. What was that, Sean?
This was a moment where, if Austin knew Amos 9:6, King James, it calls it the strata, that he builds his layers in the sky and he's founded his strata on the earth, which is a word for a solid substance. The NASB also translated it as a vaulted dome. And the Legacy Standard Bible, as well as the Amplified Bible even, Christian Standard Bible, Holman's Christian Standard Bible, the American Standard Bible, like, it's literally just, it's in so many different translations where they literally call it a vault of the heavens or a vaulted dome.
But don't you know, Sean, that the King James version is the only version, and if you're not born where you can read English, then you're going to hellfire, burn or believe a burn, sir.
So, the word strata, which is used in the King James Bible, it's a variant of I think it's stratum, but basically it's like flint. It's as if it's a layered rock or a solid substance like a rock. So it's in the King James Bible. You just have to, again, as I always say, you just have to define your terms.
Absolutely.
In the open firmament of heaven.
Yeah, I'm not one of these people that think that the people that wrote KJV were somehow the arbiters of truth. The original word specifically says face. Of course, when you bring up that these people defined it a certain way, they believe the earth was a globe that flies through space. Of course, they're going to define the terms a certain way. I don't even want to argue too much about the scriptural part of it. I'm just going to say my stance is very clear. It's blatantly that the earth is stationary, immovable, and fixed. It has pillars as a firmament separating the heavenly waters from the earthly waters. Almost every scholar will agree. I'm not appealing to them.
Every scholar would agree with that?
That Hebrew cosmology was that the earth is an enclosed, immovable plane. Absolutely.
Can I show just some pictures of historical Bibles? Because frankly speaking, from the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th century, we have drawings and Bibles from all of these centuries showing the spherical earth. So
what?
I want to see these pictures because I don't believe him.
Yeah, he does actually show them, but
I've seen the opposite.
It's all like Orthodox imagery. It reminds me of Eastern Orthodox or Catholic imagery as like cultural art style. So he does actually show it later on.
What you're saying is just, to me, just
That's
insane.
not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Is all of those people would have told you, yeah, but the Hebrew writers back then, they were writing through the lens of what they knew at the time, and they thought they were taking Genesis literal to mean that there were literally waters above us that were being held back by a literal firmament, and that the windows of a firmament literally opened up waters, and that the earth was immovable and fixed.
Who are you quoting saying
that's what
that?
I mean.
Because the Bible's talking about clouds. When it talks about the firmament, and you can actually compare Proverbs chapter number 8 with Genesis chapter number 1, and it's clear that in day 2 of creation, God created the atmosphere, which is what's the firmament. Firmament just means space or expanse. Obvious. And it's just talking about how the waters were separated where clouds were up above the firmament, and there's simply the oceans down below. So you have waters below the firmament, you have waters above the firmament, and the birds fly in.
Wait, so the clouds are above the firmament or in the firmament? And then the birds are in the firmament, but not above the firmament?
In between the clouds, which is in the open firmament. That's what the Bible teaches. That's what everybody that I've seen write about and talk about have seen. And that's what the pictures that I could show right now. I could literally show tons of pictures of people with the spherical earth in Bibles from the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th century. So are all of those people,
like I said,
those people not believe in the spherical earth?
You're straw manning what I said. I didn't say I didn't believe in a spherical earth. Okay. What I said was that the scriptures specifically say that it's not a spinning spherical earth, and that the people that wrote it, the prophets,
you're saying you believe the earth is a sphere.
adhered to Hebrew. What's up?
You believe the earth is a sphere.
What? No. Why would I believe the earth's a sphere and debate that it's not a sphere?
I thought that's
okay. I feel like we're getting a little off track here, boys. Let's
Yeah.
just and I'm not taking over. I'm just going to reset a little bit. Pastor Shelley has made a lot of points on Eratosthenes, and I've not heard Austin address that yet. Austin, would you like to? Are you familiar with the experiment? Can you explain it? How did Eratosthenes prove that we are on a ball Earth? I don't want to let you off the hook on that one.
Yeah. So that is like the Wikipedia story of how this was all settled. But when I brought up the falsification of the radius value, he said Eratosthenes proved the radius value a long time ago. The way he supposedly did this, because there's only secondary documentation, and the two documents actually contradict each other with different stories. That doesn't really matter because you can go do it now. Anyway, you put sticks in the ground. He used wells, and then there's a different story that they use sticks. It doesn't matter. And then the shadow that's cast from the sun, you can take those shadows, the angles at which the shadows are cast, and you can do the math. You can use spherical geometry to get a circumference. And of course, you get the radius from that. Now, obviously, in order to do that, you must use spherical geometry. So you have to assume the Earth's a sphere, and you also have to assume that the light rays are parallel, right? So the sun has to be super distant where the light rays are parallel, and then the Earth is a sphere to even begin to do the math to figure it out. Also, admittedly, right, that if you can't prove it unless you have many, many other data points, is what the mainstream will tell you. And he only used 2. So like Neil deGrasse Tyson and just to point out how accepted it is in the mainstream, I'll tell you, obviously with two shadows, it works perfectly fine on a flat Earth with a local light source, which is true. In fact, we've actually replicated it with like 100 different shadows. So long story short, he assumed that the sun was super far away and assumed there were parallel light rays, and then assumed that the Earth was a sphere to come up with the value, which of course doesn't prove it, because you can explain the same exact observations on a flat Earth. So I don't even know why but yeah, that's just what like the mainstream story is. So
yeah, and didn't he believe the sun was 1 million miles away, not 93 million? Or something like that?
Yeah, it's just super far away. I didn't even really make it specifically.
Pastor Shelley, do you believe in mainstream space, like trillions of stars, light years away, nuclear explosions? Do you believe in like the mainstream space or a different type of space? I just would like to know what you believe as far as what the stars are, how far away are they, stuff like that.
I'm sure that when it comes to our solar system specifically, I probably agree with most mainstream views, is what's taught in public school and college and accepted. When it comes to distant stars, I guess I'm somewhat skeptical of the fact that we could know for sure exactly how far those stars are. But I'm not, like, it doesn't really change anything for me if they truly are as far as they claim they are. But, I think it's impossible to know for sure exactly how far these, if it's something 1,000 light years away or even much further, what they claim, like, it's pretty much improvable in my opinion. We can only make hypotheses and predictions. And of course they do those and they seem to match what they suggest. So it is plausible in my mind, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it's for sure.
Okay, Pastor Shelley, is there any topic you want to explore more that you want to get back into? I know I pulled this out because it just felt like the bickering, I was just trying to refocus with the Greek guy. Is there anything biblically you want to talk about and go back and forth with Austin?
Well, I do want to bring up a couple other things that we haven't brought up, just some newer things.
Right.
But I do want to bring up the idea of solar eclipses specifically. And if possible, can I bring up graphic 17? Just because we recently had a solar eclipse in my part of the country. I don't know where you...
Do you feel like this is kind of a nod to you in his recent video? I feel like it kind of is, where he's bringing up, oh yeah, it's the moon. And that proves that we live on a sphere.
Guys are located, but in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we literally experienced a solar eclipse, and they were able to tell us exactly when it was going to come. They gave us the exact minute marker. They could tell us, and you can even see one of those plotted down there. But these solar eclipses are actually going in all kinds of different directions. And from most flat Earth views or models that I've seen, they kind of just have like a child's mobile where the moon just kind of going in this circular pattern. Well, that wouldn't fit these solar eclipses, nor does the flat Earth model give you any prediction as to tell you when these solar eclipses are going to happen. Whereas the heliocentric model literally does give you these predictions, and they're accurate. So to me, that's not something that we just like made up. I really did see the solar eclipse. These pathways really do match reality. It's things that we've observed and seen, and they do fit with the heliocentric model. So I'm just curious from Austin's perspective, what he would say about these solar and lunar eclipses that we observe.
That's a valid, Pastor Shelley brings up a valid point that the globe model can make accurate predictions over time, which is a good point. And Austin, what is your answer as far as their ability to predict the eclipses? Go ahead. What say you?
Yeah, just real quick, I just want to say I just looked that up. It says the Earth in the open expanse of space. It says upon the face of the firmament. Like I said, everyone can go look that up. But eclipses, that the prediction of eclipses aren't exclusive to anything to do with the globe, right? It's not exclusive to the Earth being a sphere, nor of the Earth moving around the sun. It comes back, funny enough, from the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, like 2500 BC. You have the sterile cycle that was built upon before that. You can actually go to ADL.place. That's the Anti-Disinformation League, so it's the good ADL, and you'll find all of this mapped out on a plane. We can perfectly map out exactly when it's going to happen on a plane Earth, and the sun and the moon, they have their specific cycles. They even change like relative positions throughout time, and it's just a cycle that repeats. And in both situations, your prediction gets more and more accurate the closer it gets to the time of the eclipse. So actually, if you paid attention, they changed the path or the locations of the path of the eclipse like 3 or 4 times in the weeks leading up to the eclipse, even in like the mainstream perfect model and all this stuff, right? Because it isn't about the model, it's about the sun and moon. They have a cycle that there's an eclipse cycle that we can narrow down over the course of thousands of years. And so, yeah, all of that can, like exactly when the eclipse will be, all of that is exactly the same, regardless of if you think the Earth's a globe or flat, or whether if you think it's moving or it's not moving. Uses specific observational pieces of data that aren't exclusive to either one of them. So it's a misnomer. Everyone can go to the ADL.place and you can see it all mapped out and predicted.
So is that...
Well, that's quite a claim. Let me just do a real quick follow-up. That's quite a claim, and I'd love to be able to look that up like I did definitions, because if they really did change, because I think a globe argument is their predictive ability. Like, it does appear that they have this model that can make accurate predictions over time. And I had no idea. I can't verify this right now. If anyone can, did they actually change the eclipse stuff over the weeks? I can't validate or not validate. Anyway, go ahead, Pastor. I'm sorry.
Well, they definitely update things within minutes. They say like, oh, we can predict things within 5 minutes or so. And then as we get closer and closer, they can narrow it down all the way to seconds. So there is a little bit of a shift, but they knew the specific date and around the approximate time way long ago. In fact, there are charts that can show you specific solar eclipses are going to happen decades from now. Not just like the next 10 minutes or 2 weeks. They can tell you exactly. But from Austin's viewpoint, I mean, is NASA using y'all's flat Earth model to make these predictions, and or are they right and they're using, I mean, are they just faking it? They're just making up this heliocentric model for these predictions? Like, I'm just kind of curious how they're coming to these conclusions, because you say all these things are faked by them and they're lying about all this stuff, but they are making accurate predictions about these eclipses. And it wasn't even NASA. It's not like NASA's the first one to predict these eclipses. These eclipses were predicted in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s. I mean, we've already known these cycles and these patterns, and they're not subscribing to a flat Earth model specifically. So I want to know, are the people that are making these predictions, are they using your flat Earth model, a geocentric model, or are they using the heliocentric model?
Yeah, they literally use the geocentric model. So they use what's called an Earth-centered, Earth-fixed coordinate system, because the observations happen from the Earth. And no, they weren't just done in 1600s. Like I said, they were done in 2500 BC by the Chaldeans. It's called the Saros cycle. And they were a flat Earth geocentric civilization. It isn't exclusive to either one. They've reverse engineered the globe from what we see in the sky. But like I said, the predictions aren't exclusive to any belief. And also, just to make sure you guys know what I'm saying, the date is pretty well known. To get to more narrow of exactly when in that day it'll happen, you have to get closer to the actual time because of the periodicity of the sun and the moon over time. I'm talking about they changed the location. So like the path of totality, they were actually narrowing it down and moving it over by a few miles over leading up to that moment. And this was just well known and accepted in like mainstream articles. You could look it up. Now, it wasn't like hundreds of miles. But my point is just this idea is that there's a specific sphere with a specific size, and we know where everything is, and we're going to be able to tell you where the eclipse is. That isn't how it works. The eclipse is based on the periodicity of the sun and the moon. It's been mapped out since 2500 BC. It doesn't have anything to do with the Earth being a globe. And in fact, they use a geocentric coordinate system at NASA with the Saros cycle. And actually, the guy that does eclipses for NASA for like 20 years is on the record explaining that they have to use a geocentric coordinate system. They do the same thing with their satellites as well, side note. So,
yes, can I clarify?
Ironically, the answer to your question is yes.
Yep.
So do you think the ECEF is accurate?
Well, no, because typically the ECF is using a sphere, right?
Exactly.
So I don't believe in a sphere, but the sphere isn't really required. But the point is that even in the current model, there's a kinematic and dynamic equivalence, which is just a fancy way of saying either the Earth can be stationary in the middle and we can see everything the way we do, or it can be moving and we see everything the way we do. They use the ECF because it's the most convenient. And I would say, yeah, it's more accurate because the Earth is in the center. I wouldn't believe in the sphere part, of course, but.
So if you look up the ECI or the ECEF, on Wikipedia and you just read what they claim about it, specifically in the ECI article, it'll say that ECF is fixed in respect to the Earth's surface and its rotation, and then rotates with respect to the stars. And specifically, the ECF model is using the coordinates of a sphere to calculate these specific items. So I think it's crazy to me for you to appeal to the ECF, which is using a sphere as its mathematical calculation, and then claiming that somehow that it would be a flat Earth. I mean, that doesn't even jive. If they're making these models based on a sphere and they're accurate, I still don't see from your viewpoint or your worldview how they're coming up with these accurate models. It seems like you're cherry picking.
I didn't
what's the straw
say
man?
that it was. You asked me if they use a geocentric model. I said, yes, actually they do. And in fact, they use a sterile cycle. It doesn't matter if you think there's a sphere or not. It came from a flat Earth civilization. I answered your question. I didn't say that was evidence that it's flat. I said that it's a geocentric model. But to answer your question succinctly, you can do it either on a plane or a globe. It's just what's called a transform. So it's just a projection. It's a transform, and it would be an ellipse over top of a plane, or you would have the circles in different directions around a globe. Okay, so you can transform that just like you can transform satellite trajectories, and then you just have all of basically the flower of life over top of a plane. So what a coincidence, a geocentric plane would have all the planets moving in perfect, flower of life trajectories. Same for the sun and the moon. So like I said, this is not exclusive evidence either way.
Yeah, again, I don't.
Okay.
Hey Vader,
go ahead.
I don't feel, man. I appreciate you having me on though.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Thanks for joining us on the panel and giving us some things. Yeah, I think your ideas on giving him some feedback is awesome, and I definitely think he has a lot of room to grow. But he also is is killing it already. But to you, appreciate you coming on. It was good to hear you and talk to you.
Yeah, the pastor's name, was it Shannon? Was that his name?
No, it's Jonathan Kelly.
Jonathan Kelly?
Wait,
this is my thoughts on him. This is how I feel this debate went overall.
Jonathan Shelley.
Oh.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Oh, it didn't play the sound effects. Oh well. Anyway, all right. Well, never mind then. Never mind. Appreciate you guys having me on, and Shabbat Shalom to y'all.
Shabbat Shalom. What were you gonna say about Kelly? Oh, you used the sound effects.
I was trying to use some sound effects, but it wasn't. It's not going through. So.
Oh, weird. Okay. Well, thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
All right. See you guys later.
Yeah, I'm out too, Vader. I got to go to bed. Shabbat Shalom. Good show. Tomorrow night.
Yep, we'll have our stream tomorrow night. Do y'all think this is like a good stopping point? Maybe we do a part 2 next week. Would y'all be down for that, or are y'all or Kyle?
Yeah,
I'm down for that. Kyle, are you down to keep going? What's your thoughts, Kyle?
I'm down for a part 2.
Okay, sweet. All right. Well, maybe we can get Sean back for that too.
Maybe we can do it a little bit earlier, and then maybe Nick will get on, or somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do it. Maybe.
We'll see. But yeah, let's call it. We're at 3 hours and 2 minutes. So thank you all for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'm gonna kick it off and say good night. So until next time, remember that ABBA loved you first. Good night, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good night.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's your glory, conceal the mystery. You give us the honor to search your mind.